Luck favors the bold. That's what Luna's father had told her the night before he died, gripping her hand with fever-weakened fingers. But when you're the wolf whose markings bring misfortune, when you're the daughter no Alpha's family would approve, you learn that boldness is just another word for desperation. And tonight at Riverbend's claiming night, Luna would discover that sometimes freedom comes not from being wanted, but from accepting the one offer no sane wolf would take. The gathering grounds shimmered under the autumn moon like a trap Luna couldn't escape. Silk ribbons streamed between willow trees, catching starlight across tables piled with roasted meat and autumn wine. Music drifted through the crowd, sweet, expectant, merciless in its joy. Every unmated wolf in the Riverbend pack had gathered here, wearing their finest furs and hope-like armor. Everyone except Luna. She stood at the farthest edge, the spot partially hidden behind the ancient willow's cascading branches, where the ribbon light didn't quite penetrate. Her dress, a simple cream thing she'd worn to 4 claiming nights before this, fit poorly across her thin shoulders. She'd tried to make herself acceptable, woven wildflowers into her auburn hair, scrubbed the dirt from under her broken nails, but there was no hiding what she was. The cursed one, the marked wolf, the daughter whose very existence had killed her mother in childbirth and driven her father to an early grave through grief. Did you hear Marcus brought his cousin from the western valleys? A voice carried from the nearest group. Luna didn't need to look to recognize Senna, one of the pack's golden daughters. They say he's already chosen 3 wolves to interview. Well, anyone but Luna. Another girl snickered. Can you imagine? Those white markings would curse an entire bloodline. Luna's fingers tightened around her cup of watered-down wine. She should be immune to this by now. 25 years old and still unclaimed, still alone, still watching from the shadows while others found their forever. Luna. A weathered voice broke through her spiraling thoughts. She turned to find Elder Rowan, the pack's oldest healer, offering her a sympathetic smile. His kind eyes had witnessed too many of her disappointments. You shouldn't isolate yourself back here. I'm fine here, Elder. Better view of the ceremony. The lie tasted familiar on her tongue. Elder Rowan sighed, patting her shoulder before shuffling away. Luna watched him go, then turned her attention to the raised platform where Alpha Silvermaness stood, preparing to begin the ritual. He was ancient by wolf standards, nearly 80, but still commanded respect with every gesture. Brothers and sisters of Riverbend. His voice rolled across the grounds like distant thunder. Tonight, beneath the hunter's moon, we gather to honor our oldest tradition. The claiming night strengthens our pack, enriches our bloodlines, and ensures our prosperity for generations to come. Luna had heard this speech 5 times before. She could recite it in her sleep, each word a small cut. When I call your name, step forward. Unmated alphas may approach, speak their intentions, and the wolf may accept or decline. Trust in the old ways. Trust in pack wisdom. The ritual began. One by one, names echoed across the clearing. One by one, unmated wolves stepped onto the platform, and alphas, strong, confident, valuable, came forward to claim them. The air crackled with the electric snap of bonds forming, that unmistakable pull of 2 souls choosing each other. Senna was claimed first, naturally. Alpha Marcus's cousin practically leaped onto the platform, his eyes glowing gold with desire. The crowd roared approval. 12 successful claims passed before the pool of unclaimed wolves grew noticeably sparse. Luna Hartwell. Her name landed like a stone in still water. Conversations died. Heads turned. Luna felt dozens of eyes on her as she stood on trembling legs and made her way to the platform. Each step felt like walking through honey. She kept her gaze down, knowing what she'd see if she looked up. Pity from the elders, disgust from her peers, uncomfortable embarrassment from everyone else. She climbed the wooden steps and stood in the designated circle, hands clasped to stop them from shaking. Luna Hartwell, daughter of the late Marcus and Elaine Hartwell, Alpha Silvermane's voice was gentle with sympathy, presents herself to be claimed. Silence. Luna counted heartbeats. 1, 2, 5, 10, 20. No Alpha moved. She'd known this would happen, known it with bone-deep certainty. But knowing didn't make the humiliation burn any less. Somewhere in the crowd, someone coughed. A child asked a too loud question about why the lady was still standing alone. The sound pierced the quiet like a blade. Perhaps, Alpha Silvermane began, his voice heavy with regret. We should. I'll take her. The voice came from beyond the gathering grounds, deep and rough as gravel. Every head whipped toward the sound. A figure emerged from the forest's edge, A man so scarred he looked like he'd been carved from violence itself. He stood well over 6 feet tall, with shoulders that blocked out the ribbon light behind him. Black hair fell past his collar, wild and unkempt, framing a face marked by 3 parallel scars that ran from temple to jaw on the left side. His eyes glowed silver in the darkness, fixed on Luna with an intensity that stole her breath. The crowd parted like prey scattering before a predator. Luna had never seen him before. Neither had anyone else, judging by the gasps and whispers erupting around her. "And you are?" Alpha Silvermane demanded, straightening to his full height. The protective authority in his voice was unmistakable. The stranger climbed onto the platform with predatory grace that belied his massive size. He moved like barely controlled lightning, like violence deciding to be still. When he spoke, his voice carried across the silent grounds. Kade Thorncrest, Alpha of the Stormwatch Pack. He turned his gaze back to Luna, and something flickered in those silver eyes, something she couldn't read. "And I'm claiming this wolf as mine." The gathering grounds exploded into chaos. If stories like Luna's remind you that curses can become crowns, subscribe to join others who believe that what marks us as different might be exactly what makes us powerful. Chapter 2. Stormwatch. The name struck through the crowd like ice water. Luna heard the whispers exploding around her, saw faces paling in the ribbon light. Stormwatch. That's the pack from the northern mountains. I heard their alpha is ruthless. Executes deserters personally. They say he got those scars fighting his own brother for control. Why would he come here? Why would he want her? That last question cut deepest, because Luna was wondering the same thing. She stood frozen on the platform, staring up at the massive alpha who had just claimed her. Kade Thorncrest. Even his name sounded dangerous. Alpha Silvermane stepped between them, his aged face stern. Alpha Thorncrest. While we appreciate your interest, the claiming knight has protocols. You cannot simply appear and make demands. The ritual allows any unmated alpha to claim any unmated wolf. Kade's voice was calm, but there was iron beneath it. I've claimed. Unless your traditions are merely performative. A muscle twitched in Silvermane's jaw. The challenge was explicit. Deny Kade and admit the claiming knight was a sham, or accept him and allow Luna to be taken by a complete stranger from a pack with a brutal reputation. Luna found her voice, though it came out smaller than she intended. I don't understand. You've never even met me. Kade's silver eyes fixed on her, and she felt the weight of his attention like a physical thing. Up close, she could see the scars that marked him weren't just the 3 on his face. Smaller ones crossed his knuckles, his throat, his temple. His face was harsh in an unforgiving way, like a mountain peak, beautiful in its danger. I know enough, he said simply. That's not an answer, Alpha Thorncrest. A new voice cut through the tension. Luna's stomach dropped as Councillor Vance stepped forward, his political smile firmly in place. Vance was the pack's chief strategist, a man who valued order and influence above all else, especially when it suited his purposes. Perhaps we should discuss this matter privately. I'm sure we can reach an understanding. Translation, a bribe. A reason to send this dangerous stranger away and avoid the complications his presence created. Kade didn't even look at him. There's nothing to discuss. I've made my claim according to your traditions. The wolf accepts or declines. Those are the only 2 options that matter. All eyes turned to Luna. Her mind raced. Accept a complete stranger, an alpha from a pack known for executions and mountain warfare? It was insane, suicidal even. She should decline immediately, endure the humiliation of returning to her isolated corner. And what? Wait another year. Endure another claiming night where no one wanted her? Watch her contemporaries raise their pups while she withered alone in her father's abandoned cottage. The cursed daughter who brought misfortune to everyone she touched. The cursed one can't seriously be considering this. Someone muttered loud enough to carry. That decided it. Luna lifted her chin and met Kade's gaze directly. What exactly are you offering, Alpha Thorncrest? Something that might have been approval flickered in his eyes. A claim bond. A place in my pack. Protection. Why me? She pressed, needing to understand. You could have any wolf. Stronger ones. Ones without cursed markings. I could, he agreed, his voice cutting her off. But I'm choosing you. It wasn't an answer. But the way he said it, firm, final, allowing no argument, made her believe he meant it. Whatever his reasons, they were real to him. Alpha Silvermane leaned close to her, his voice dropping to a whisper. Child, You don't have to do this. We can find another solution. Another solution to what? Luna whispered back. Watching me sit alone at next year's claiming night. And the year after that. She swallowed hard. At least this way, I'll belong somewhere. Stormwatch is brutal. Silvermane's face crumpled with concern. And Riverbend has been so gentle with you. The bitterness leaked through before she could stop it. None of this was his fault. He'd been kind to her in his way. But kindness didn't change facts. She turned back to Kade, pulse hammering in her throat. If I accept, what happens next? You leave with me tonight. Tonight. The word came out strangled. I'd need to pack my things, say goodbye. Pack light. We leave within the hour. An hour. Stars above. He was serious. This was really happening. Luna searched his face for any sign of deception, cruelty, or the mockery she'd learned to expect. But Kade's expression remained unreadable. Not cruel, not kind, just determined. I need one thing from you first, she said quietly. His eyebrow, bisected by one of the scars, lifted slightly. Name it. The truth. Why are you really doing this? For a long moment, Kade said nothing. The gathering grounds had gone silent again, everyone straining to hear. Then he leaned down, his face close enough that only she could hear his next words. Because I need a mate before the Winter Solstice Council. And you need someone to choose you. We both get what we need. That's the truth. It wasn't romantic. It wasn't even particularly kind. But it was honest. And somehow that mattered more than pretty lies. One more question, Luna breathed. Are you going to hurt me? Something shifted in Kade's expression, a crack in that stone facade. No, he said, and this time there was something almost gentle in his voice. I'm going to protect you. Even from my own pack, if necessary. Especially from my own pack, his tone seemed to say. Luna took a shaking breath. This was madness. Complete and utter madness. But sitting alone at claiming nights year after year, watching life pass her by, that was a different kind of madness, wasn't it? Then I accept. The words fell into stunned silence. Then chaos erupted for the second time that night. Voices shouted over each other. Protests from the council, gasps from the crowd, cries of disbelief. Someone was demanding a formal objection. Someone else was invoking ancient protocols. Kade ignored all of it. He pulled a pendant from his pocket, a piece of black stone etched with symbols Luna didn't recognize, and took her hand. His palm was rough with calluses, warm against her cold fingers. Luna Hartwell, he said, his voice cutting through the noise with alpha command. I claim you as my mate before the moon goddess and these witnesses. Do you accept this bond? The formal words. The binding words. Once spoken, once accepted, the bond would begin to form. Not the instant electric snap of true fated mates, but the slower, deliberate building of a chosen bond. Just as permanent. Just as sacred. Luna's father had told her that chosen bonds could become just as strong as fated ones, given time and effort. He'd said love grew where it was tended. She hoped he was right. I accept this bond, she whispered. Kade fastened the pendant around her neck. It was too heavy, settling against her collarbone like a weight, but the stone warmed against her skin like it was alive. He lifted her hand to his lips and pressed a kiss to her knuckles, a gesture so at odds with his scarred, brutal appearance that Luna's breath caught. Then it's done, he said. You're mine now, and I'm yours. The claim bond sparked to life between them. Not overwhelming, not all-consuming, but real. A thread of connection, thin but growing stronger with each passing second. Luna felt it settle somewhere deep in her chest, warm and strange and terrifying. She was bonded to a complete stranger who was already turning to face the angry crowd with her hand still held in his. We're leaving, Kade announced. Anyone who has a problem with that can challenge me now. No one moved. Whatever Stormwatch's reputation, Kade's physical presence alone was enough to give even the bravest alpha pause. He was massive, scarred, and moved with the confidence of someone who'd never lost a fight. Luna needs time to gather her belongings. Alpha Silvermane tried. 30 minutes, Kade conceded. Then we're gone. He finally released Luna's hand and gave her a slight nod toward the crowd. Go pack what matters. I'll wait here. Luna stumbled down the platform steps, her legs barely holding her. The crowd parted around her, some in shock, some in pity, some in barely concealed relief that the cursed one was finally someone else's problem. Elder Rowan caught her arm as she passed. Luna, this is madness. You can't actually leave with him. Why not? Luna pulled free, surprising herself with the sharpness in her voice. You all got your perfect matches. Let me have mine. Even if he was far from perfect. Even if this was a transaction more than a romance. Even if she was absolutely terrified of what came next. She pushed through the crowd and ran for her father's cottage on the edge of Packlands, her new pendant catching moonlight as she fled. Behind her, she could feel Kade's presence through the fresh bond, steady, solid, waiting. 30 minutes to pack up a life. 30 minutes before everything changed. Luna prayed she wasn't making the biggest mistake of her existence. Chapter 3. The cottage was dark when Luna burst through the door, her hands shaking so badly she could barely light the candle. Golden light flooded the small space, the only home she'd ever known. One room that served as kitchen, bedroom, and living space. Her father's chair by the cold fireplace, still positioned as if he might return. Herbs hanging from the rafters, planted and harvested by her own hands. The narrow bed in the corner where Luna had slept every night of her 25 years. 30 minutes to say goodbye to all of it. She grabbed her travel pack from the hook by the door and started throwing things inside with no thought to organization. Clothes, her 2 other dresses, a spare shift, wool leggings for winter, her father's journal, the pages filled with his careful observations about healing plants. The carved wooden raven her mother had made before she died, small enough to fit in her palm. What did you pack when leaving forever? Luna. She spun to find Elder Rowan standing in the doorway, slightly out of breath. He must have run after her from the claiming night. Elder, I don't have time. I know. He stepped inside, closing the door behind him. His healer's satchel hung from his shoulder. I'm not here to stop you. I'm here to help. Luna's eyes burned with sudden tears. You think I'm insane? I think you're surviving. He moved to her small shelf of belongings and started pulling down items with practiced efficiency. A comb, a small sewing kit, a tin of salve for burns. Kade Thorncrest has a fearsome reputation, yes. But I've also heard his fare to those who earn it. If he's claimed you, he'll honor that bond. He doesn't want me, Luna whispered, the truth spilling out. He needs a mate for some political reason, the Winter Solstice Council, he said. This isn't about me at all. Elder Rowan paused, meeting her eyes. Then make it about you. You're sharper than any wolf in this pack gives you credit for. You've survived being called cursed your entire life. That takes a strength most will never understand. He pressed the items into her hands. Use that strength now. Show Stormwatch what Riverbend was too superstitious to see. What if I can't? The fear finally broke through. What if I'm just as weak as everyone thinks? You're not weak. You're a late bloomer. Elder Rowan gripped her shoulders firmly. Your father knew it. I know it. Someday that wolf inside you is going to fully awaken. And when it does, Luna, you're going to be magnificent. Luna wanted to believe him. She'd spent years waiting for her wolf to fully manifest, for the strength that was supposed to come with maturity. But at 25, still barely able to hold her shifted form for more than an hour, still marked with white patches that made her an outcast, hope felt like another cruel joke. Still, she nodded and continued packing. Elder Rowan helped her gather the essentials: food for the journey, a water skin, a warm cloak. He added packets of herbs from his own bag, valerian for sleep, willow bark for pain, yarrow for wounds. His voice dropped. And moon petal. In case you need to prevent. Elder Rowan. Luna's cheeks burned. I'm a healer. It's my job to prepare you for every possibility. His expression was grave. I don't think Kade will force himself on you. But you're going into an unknown pack with an unknown alpha. Better to have options. The reality of her situation crashed over her again. She was leaving with a stranger to a pack known for brutality, where she'd have no allies, no protection except from the very male who might become her greatest threat. I'm terrified, she admitted. Good. Fear keeps you alert. Elder Rowan tied her pack closed. But don't let it paralyze you. Remember, you're not powerless. You have a mind sharper than most, a healer's knowledge from working with me, and now a claim bond to an alpha. Those are weapons if you're clever enough to use them. A knock at the door made them both jump. It's time. Kade's deep voice carried through the wood. Luna's heart lurched. She looked around the cottage one last time, memorizing every detail. The crack in the eastern wall shaped like a lightning bolt. The loose floorboard by the fireplace that creaked when stepped on. The window that never quite closed all the way, letting in summer breezes and winter frost alike. "I wish Father was here," she whispered. "He'd know what to do. He'd tell you to trust yourself." Elder Rowan pulled her into a quick embrace. "Write to me if you can. Let me know you're safe." "I will." Another knock. More insistent. Luna shouldered her pack, pulled her cloak around her shoulders, and opened the door. Kade stood on the threshold, somehow looking even larger in the confined space of the cottage entrance. Behind him, she could see torches from the claiming night grounds, the pack gathering to watch her leave. Of course they'd want to witness this spectacle. "Ready?" Kade asked. "No, not even remotely." But Luna nodded anyway. Kade's eyes flicked to Elder Rowan, something unreadable passing over his face. Then he reached out and took Luna's pack from her shoulder, slinging it over his own like it weighed nothing. "Say your goodbyes. We have a long journey ahead." The walk back to the claiming night grounds felt like a funeral march. Wolves lined the path, some whispering, some staring openly. Luna kept her chin up through sheer force of will. She wouldn't give them the satisfaction of seeing her crumble. Alpha Silvermane waited at the edge of pack territory, his expression troubled. "Luna, child, if you've changed your mind." "I haven't." "Then may the moon goddess guide your path." He pressed a small pouch into her hands. "Coins. Not much, but enough to get you home if you need it." The kindness nearly broke her. "Thank you, Alpha." Counselor Vance stood nearby, his arms crossed. "This is highly irregular. The council should have been consulted more thoroughly." "The council can file a complaint with Stormwatch." Kade cut him off. His hand settled on the small of Luna's back, warm, possessive, protective. "My mate and I are leaving now." "My mate." The words sent a shiver through her. For better or worse, that's what she was now. Kade guided her past the crowd, past the gawking faces and whispered speculation. At the tree line where pack territory ended, he paused and turned to face her. "Last chance," he said quietly. "If you're going to run, do it now. Once we cross into neutral territory, you're committed." Luna looked back at Riverbend, at the claiming night grounds where she'd sat isolated so many times, at the faces of wolves who'd never truly seen her, at Elder Rowan, who gave her an encouraging nod from the crowd, at the cottage where her father had died alone while the pack whispered about curses. Then she looked up at Kade, this scarred, brutal stranger who'd chosen her when no one else would. "I'm not running," she said. Something that might have been respect flickered in his eyes. "Then stay close. The neutral territory between packs isn't safe after dark." He shifted then, and Luna's breath caught. His wolf was enormous, easily the largest she'd ever seen. Silver-gray fur with black markings across his shoulders and down his spine. Shoulders corded with muscle, eyes glowing like molten silver in the darkness. He was built for war, for dominance, for violence barely contained. He lowered himself slightly, an invitation. Luna's wolf was too weak, too unstable to make the journey in shifted form. She'd have to ride. Pride warred with practicality. Pride lost. She climbed onto his back, gripping his fur tightly. The moment she settled, Kade stood and launched into the forest at a ground-eating lope. Luna held on for dear life, the world blurring around them. Behind them, Riverbend faded into the distance. Ahead lay the unknown. And pressed against Kade's powerful form, feeling the claim bond pulse with each stride, Luna realized with sudden clarity that she'd traded one form of danger for another. She just prayed this danger might actually keep her alive. They ran for hours. The forest changed around them, from the familiar birch groves of Riverbend territory through the neutral wildlands and into darker, wilder woods Luna had never seen. The trees grew taller, their branches blocking out the moonlight. The underbrush thickened. Even the air felt different, heavier, charged with ancient power. Stormwatch territory. Kade finally slowed near a stream, his sides heaving slightly. He shifted back to human form, and Luna quickly averted her eyes before sliding off his back. Pack wolves were used to nudity, shifting destroyed clothes unless you learned to undress first. But she and Kade were still strangers. It felt too intimate. She heard rustling as he dressed in the spare clothes he'd apparently stashed in her pack. When she looked back, he was decent, loose trousers and a shirt that stretched across his broad shoulders. "We rest here for an hour," he said, his voice rough from the run. "Drink. Eat if you need to. Then we continue." Luna knelt by the stream and cupped water to her lips. The cold shocked her system, chasing away some of the fog of exhaustion. "How much further?" she asked. 4 more hours at full speed. We'll reach Stormwatch by dawn." Dawn. Then this strange new life would truly begin. Luna settled against a tree trunk, pulling her cloak tight against the chill. Kade stood watch nearby, alert and tense. Even resting, he looked ready for battle. Can I ask you something? Luna ventured after a moment of silence. You can ask. I may not answer. Fair enough. She paused. Earlier, you said you needed a mate before the Winter Solstice Council. Why? Kade was quiet for so long she thought he wouldn't respond. Then, pack law. An alpha must be bonded to hold their position beyond age 32. I turned 32 in 6 weeks. Understanding dawned. So if you didn't find a mate, the council could challenge my right to lead. Force me to step down or fight every male who thinks they could do better. His jaw clenched. I've held Stormwatch for 7 years. Rebuilt it from the chaos my brother left. I'm not surrendering it to some ambitious fool because of an outdated law. So you needed any mate. And I was willing. You were willing. He turned to look at her directly. Don't underestimate the value of that. I don't have time for courtship or political games. You needed to be chosen. I needed a mate. We helped each other. It was brutally practical, unromantic. But at least it was honest. What should I expect when we arrive? Luna asked. Your pack, will they accept me? Kade's laugh was harsh. No. They'll resent you on principle. You're an outsider with cursed markings. They'll test you, push you, try to force you into submission or drive you away. Luna's stomach dropped. That's not encouraging. I'm not here to coddle you with pretty lies. He crossed his arms. Stormwatch isn't like Riverbend. We don't have elaborate ceremonies and gentle traditions. We have survival. The strong protect the weak, but they don't tolerate uselessness. I'm not useless, Luna said, anger sparking. Then prove it. His silver eyes pinned her. That's what you'll have to do every single day. Prove you deserve to be there. Prove you're more than the cursed wolf everyone sees. And what about you? The question burst out before she could stop it. Will you protect me or just throw me to the wolves? I'll protect you from real danger, but I won't shield you from every challenge. Kade's expression was hard. If I do, they'll never respect you. Never see you as anything but my burden. You want to survive Stormwatch. You'll have to fight for your place. It was the opposite of everything Luna had hoped for. No gentle introduction, no gradual acceptance. Just trial by fire. I don't know if I can do this, she admitted quietly. You can. You already chose to. Kade pushed off the tree he'd been leaning against. That takes courage most wolves don't have. He walked to the other side of the clearing, giving her space. Leaving her alone with her racing thoughts and the growing weight of what she'd agreed to. Luna touched the pendant at her throat. Too heavy, too real. She'd wanted to be chosen, to matter to someone. Careful what you wish for, her father's voice whispered in memory. Because now she belonged to the most dangerous alpha in 3 territories, was heading to a pack that would resent her, and had no idea if she was strong enough to survive what came next. But as Luna looked up at the unfamiliar stars through the canopy of strange trees, one thought burned bright. She'd been cursed for so long that even this, even danger and uncertainty and a mate who'd chosen her for politics, felt like a chance at something more. And she'd be damned if she wasted it. Chapter 4. Dawn broke cold and grey over Stormwatch territory. Luna saw the packlands long before they reached them, a fortress carved between mountain peaks, shrouded in perpetual mist. Where Riverbend had been gentle meadows and riverside willows, Stormwatch was all jagged edges and shadows. Dark pine forests climbed the mountainsides. Stone cliffs jutted from the earth like broken blades. Even the air tasted different here, sharper, wilder, heavy with the threat of storms. Kade shifted back to human form at the valley's entrance, dressing quickly while Luna climbed down on trembling legs. 4 hours of riding had left her sore and exhausted, but she forced herself to stand straight. First impressions mattered, even when you were too tired to think. Stay close, Kade said, shouldering her pack again. Don't make eye contact with anyone unless I tell you to. Don't speak unless spoken to directly. And whatever happens, don't show fear. That's a lot of don'ts, Luna muttered. His mouth twitched, almost a smile. Almost. Welcome to Stormwatch. They walked down into the valley as the sun crept higher, burning away some of the mist. The pack settlement came into view gradually, not the neat cottages and communal buildings of Riverbend, but a sprawling collection of structures that looked like they'd been built for war. Stone fortifications built into cliffsides, wooden longhouses with reinforced doors, training yards where even now, in the early morning light, wolves sparred with brutal efficiency. And everywhere, wolves. Dozens of them, all turning to stare as Kade and Luna entered the settlement. The whispers started immediately. Is that her? She's marked. White patches, bad luck. He actually went through with it. Look at her. She can barely stand. Luna kept her eyes forward and her chin up, even as her heart hammered against her ribs. These wolves were different from Riverbend Pack, harder, scarred, battle-worn. Every single one looked like they could kill her without breaking a sweat. Kade's hand found the small of her back again, that now familiar gesture of possession and protection. The claim bond pulsed between them, offering a thread of comfort in the sea of hostile stares. They walked through the settlement to a large stone structure at its heart. The pack house, Luna realized, where the Alpha lived. Where she would live now. A woman waited on the steps. Tall, muscular, with raven-black hair pulled back in a severe braid. She wore leather training gear and had the build of a warrior. Her eyes, dark as midnight, swept over Luna with open contempt. So this is the famous mate, the woman said, her voice dripping with disdain. Kade, you could have at least chosen someone who looks like she could survive a week here. Myra. Kade's voice held a warning. Where's the council? Waiting in the war room. They are not pleased. Myra's eyes never left Luna. Neither is anyone else. You left for a mate and came back with this. Luna felt her face flush, anger battling with humiliation. But she remembered Kade's warning. Don't show fear. She met Myra's gaze directly. I have a name, Luna said quietly. It's Luna, and I'm stronger than I look. Myra laughed, sharp and cruel. We'll see about that. She turned to Kade. The council wants to see her now. They are invoking the right of proving. Something dark crossed Kade's face. Of course they are. What's the right of proving? Luna asked, though she had a sinking feeling she didn't want to know. Pack law, Myra answered before Kade could. When an alpha brings a new mate into the pack, the council can demand she prove her worth. Test her strength, her knowledge, her value to the pack. Her smile was predatory. Most fail. Most don't have an alpha willing to fight for them, Kade said coldly. Take us to the council. Let's get this over with. He guided Luna into the pack house, through corridors lit by torches and lined with weapons on the walls. Everything here spoke of warfare, of survival, of strength as the only currency that mattered. The war room was exactly what Luna expected, massive, austere, dominated by a long table where 5 wolves sat in judgment. 3 men, 2 women, all older and radiating authority. The council that governed Stormwatch alongside their alpha. They stood as Kade entered, showing respect for his position, but their eyes on Luna held nothing but skepticism. Alpha Kade. The eldest man spoke, gray-haired with a scar that twisted his mouth into a permanent sneer. Welcome home. We heard rumors you'd found a mate at Riverbend. Not rumors. Fact. Kade pulled Luna forward gently. This is Luna Hartwell, my chosen mate. She's under my protection and entitled to all the rights of an alpha's mate. If she's worthy, one of the women said. She was middle-aged with calculating eyes and silver streaking her dark hair. The council invokes the right of proving. We must know what she brings to Stormwatch. She brings herself. That's enough. No, the scarred man said firmly. It's not. You know our ways, Kade. You've led this pack back from the brink of destruction, but you did it by enforcing our laws. You can't ignore them now because they are inconvenient. Kade's jaw clenched. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut. Luna stepped forward before she could second-guess herself. What does the proving involve? 5 pairs of eyes fixed on her with surprise. Apparently they hadn't expected her to speak. The scarred man leaned back in his chair, studying her. 3 trials over 3 days. Combat, knowledge, endurance. Pass all 3 and you're accepted as one of us. Fail even 1, he shrugged. You leave Stormwatch. The claim bond dissolves. That's not how claim bonds work, Luna protested. Once formed, they can be severed if both parties agree or if the council rules the bond invalid. The calculating woman smiled without warmth. We've done it before. We can do it again. Luna felt the ground shifting beneath her feet. She'd thought the bond was permanent, sacred. But apparently in Stormwatch, even that could be taken away. This is ridiculous, Kade said, his voice hard as stone. She just arrived. She needs time to rest, to adjust. She needs to prove herself, the scarred man interrupted. Just like every other wolf in this pack has had to. You taught us that, Alpha. No exceptions. No special treatment. Strength earns respect. Kade looked like he wanted to argue further. But Luna could see the trap. If he fought too hard for her, he'd undermine his own authority. Prove that he gave special treatment to his mate while demanding everyone else earn their place. "I'll do it," Luna said quietly. "Luna, I'll do the proving." She looked up at Kade, trying to project confidence she didn't feel. "You said I'd have to prove myself every day. Might as well start now." Something flickered in his eyes. Surprise, maybe even admiration. "You don't have to." "Yes, I do." She turned back to the council. "When do we start?" The scarred man smiled, a genuine smile this time, though no less dangerous. "I like her spirit, Kade. Let's see if she has anything else." He stood, the other council members following suit. "The first trial begins at midday. Combat. You'll face one of our wolves in the training yard. Not to death," he added, seeing Kade's expression darken, "but to submission or unconsciousness. Standard dominance fight." Luna's stomach dropped. Combat. Against wolves who'd been training their entire lives to be warriors. Against opponents who probably outweighed her by 70 pounds. She was going to lose. They all knew it. But if she didn't at least try, if she backed down now, she'd be admitting defeat before she even began. "I understand," she managed. "Good." The calculating woman's eyes gleamed. "I suggest you spend the next few hours preparing. You're going to need it." The council filed out, leaving Luna and Kade alone in the war room. The moment they were gone, Kade rounded on her. "You didn't have to agree to this." "What choice did I have?" Luna wrapped her arms around herself, suddenly cold. "Say no and prove I'm too weak to be here. At least this way I have a chance." "You have no chance. Not in combat." Kade's words were brutal in their honesty. "You know that. Then why did you bring me here?" The question exploded out of her. Weeks of frustration and fear finally breaking through. "You knew what your pack was like. You knew they'd test me. Why choose me at all if you knew I'd fail?" Kade was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was quieter. "Because I thought I could protect you. Shield you from the worst of it until you found your footing." He shook his head. "I underestimated how much the council resents me choosing an outsider. They want you to fail. Want me to fail." "Yes." At least he was honest. Luna sank onto a bench, exhaustion and despair washing over her. "I should have stayed in Riverbend. Should have just accepted being alone." "You could still go back." Kade sat beside her, not touching, but close enough that she could feel his presence. "I could escort you to the border. Tell the council the bond didn't take. You'd be free." Freedom. Back to her father's cottage. Back to sitting alone at claiming nights. Back to being invisible and cursed and slowly withering away. Or forward into danger and trials she'd likely fail, but at least trying, at least fighting. "No," Luna said finally. "I'm staying. I'm doing this." "Why?" She looked up at him, this brutal, scarred alpha who'd chosen her for all the wrong reasons but hadn't lied to her once. "Because for the first time in my life, someone chose me. Even if it was just for politics. Even if you need me more than want me." She touched the pendant at her throat. "That means something. And I'm not throwing it away without a fight." Kade's expression shifted. Something almost like respect warming those cold silver eyes. "Then we have 4 hours to prepare you. Come on." He stood, offering his hand. "If you're going to lose anyway, let's make sure you lose with honor." It wasn't encouraging. But somehow it was exactly what Luna needed to hear. She took his hand and let him pull her to her feet. 4 hours to prepare for a fight she couldn't win. 4 hours to prove she was more than the cursed wolf everyone saw. 4 hours before her new life truly began, or ended. Luna just hoped she'd survive long enough to find out which. Chapter 5. The training yard was packed. Word had spread fast. The new Alpha's mate, the cursed wolf from Riverbend, was going to fight. Every wolf in Stormwatch who could walk had gathered to watch what promised to be a spectacular humiliation. Luna stood at the edge of the yard, trying to control her breathing. 4 hours of preparation with Kade had taught her exactly one thing. She was hopelessly outmatched. He'd shown her basic defensive stances. How to protect her throat and vital organs. How to fall without breaking bones. All necessary skills when you knew you were going to lose. He hadn't tried to teach her offense. There was no point. "Remember," Kade said quietly beside her. "Survive as long as you can. Show courage. That matters more than winning." Easy for him to say. He'd probably never lost a fight in his life. The scarred council member, Luna had learned his name was Garrett, stepped into the center of the yard. His voice boomed across the gathered crowd. By pack law and the right of proving, Luna Hartwell will face trial by combat. The fight continues until submission, unconsciousness, or, he paused, death, though we prefer the first two options. Nervous laughter rippled through the crowd. Her opponent today is Myra Blackwater, our pack's head warrior. Of course it was Myra, the raven-haired woman who'd looked at Luna like something she'd scrape off her boot. Myra stepped into the yard, already stripped down to fighting leathers. Her muscles coiled and ready. She looked like a war goddess, beautiful, deadly, absolutely merciless. Luna suddenly wanted to vomit. Shift and fight, or fight as human, Garrett continued. Your choice, Luna Hartwell. Shifting meant revealing just how unstable her wolf was, how the white patches that marked her made her form weak and unbalanced. Fighting as human meant facing a trained warrior with nothing but the basic moves Kade had frantically taught her that morning. She chose human. At least that way the humiliation would be slightly less visible. Luna walked into the center of the yard on shaking legs. The crowd pressed closer, their excitement palpable. Blood sport had always drawn crowds, and she was today's entertainment. Myra circled her slowly, predatory. Last chance to run back to Riverbend, cursed one. I'm not running. Luna's voice came out steadier than she felt. Pity. Myra smiled. I was hoping you'd make this interesting. Garrett raised his hand. Fight begins on my mark. 3, 2, 1. Myra moved like lightning. Luna barely had time to raise her arms before the first hit connected, a brutal punch to her ribs that drove the air from her lungs. She staggered back, gasping, and Myra was already there with a kick that swept her legs out from under her. Luna hit the ground hard, dust filling her mouth. The crowd roared. Get up, get up. She rolled to the side just as Myra's boots slammed down where her head had been. Scrambled to her feet, arms up in the defensive stance Kade had shown her. Block the throat. Protect the vital organs. Myra came at her again, a flurry of strikes that Luna could barely track, let alone block. Fists and elbows and knees, each one landing with brutal precision. Luna's arms took most of the damage, but enough got through that she tasted blood. Is this all you've got? Myra taunted. Pathetic. The crowd was chanting now, Myra's name over and over. Luna caught a glimpse of Kade at the edge of the yard, his face carved from stone. He wasn't going to intervene. Couldn't, without undermining everything. She was alone in this. Myra grabbed Luna's arm and twisted, sending her crashing to the ground again. This time Myra followed her down, knee pressing into Luna's spine, hand fisting in her hair to wrench her head back, exposing her throat. Submit, Myra growled. Make this easier on yourself. Every instinct screamed at Luna to give in, to end this torture. She was going to lose anyway. Why prolong the agony? But then she saw them, the faces in the crowd, the satisfaction, the smugness, the absolute certainty that she was weak, worthless, exactly what they'd expected. And something in Luna cracked. Not broke, cracked, like ice under pressure, revealing something harder beneath. She remembered every claiming night where she'd sat alone, every dismissive glance, every whispered word about curses, every moment of being invisible, unwanted, less than. No, Luna gasped out. What? I said no. With strength she didn't know she possessed, Luna twisted in Myra's grip, not breaking free, but shifting just enough to get her elbow into Myra's ribs. It wasn't much, barely made Myra grunt, but it was enough to loosen her hold for a fraction of a second. Luna rolled, kicking out wildly. Her foot connected with something, Myra's knee, and then she was scrambling away, putting distance between them. The crowd had gone quiet. Luna stood swaying, blood dripping from her split lip. Every part of her body screamed in pain. But she raised her fists again. I'm not submitting, she said clearly. Myra's expression shifted, surprise giving way to something that might have been respect, or might have been anger at being denied an easy victory. Your funeral, Myra said. She attacked again, but this time Luna was ready. Not skilled enough to win, but determined enough to make it cost something. She blocked what she could, rolled with the hits she couldn't avoid, refused to stay down. Again and again, Myra put her on the ground. Again and again, Luna got back up. The crowd's bloodlust shifted to something else, a kind of horrified fascination. This wasn't supposed to happen. The cursed wolf was supposed to break quickly, Submit like any sensible wolf outmatched by a superior opponent. But Luna kept getting up. Stay down. Myra snarled, frustration leaking through her controlled demeanor. Make me. Luna spat blood into the dust. They clashed again. This time when Myra reached for her, Luna remembered something Elder Rowan had taught her years ago when dealing with aggressive patients. Use their momentum against them. She didn't try to block Myra's charge. Instead, she dropped and rolled, letting Myra's own force carry her past. Myra stumbled, caught off guard. It gave Luna 3 precious seconds. 3 seconds to breathe, to think, to. Myra's fist caught her in the temple, and the world exploded into stars. Luna felt herself falling, the ground rushing up. This time she didn't have the strength to rise. Her vision blurred, doubled. She could hear the crowds roar like it was coming from underwater. Myra's boot pressed against her throat, not choking, but dominant. The classic submission pose. Submit, Myra demanded. Now. Luna's mouth moved, trying to form the words. She should submit. It was over. She'd lost. Continuing would just mean more pain. But through her blurred vision, she saw Kade. Saw something in his expression, not disappointment, not pity. Pride. She'd lost the fight. But she hadn't lost herself. Luna gasped against the pressure on her throat. I submit. The words tasted like ash, but they were necessary. Fighting to unconsciousness would prove nothing except stubbornness. Myra immediately removed her boot and stepped back. The crowd erupted, some disappointed at the lack of bloodshed, others impressed despite themselves. Garrett's voice cut through the noise. Trial by combat failed. But he paused, and Luna saw him exchange a glance with the other council members. Luna Hartwell showed courage in the face of certain defeat. She has earned the right to attempt the second trial. Luna lay in the dust, too exhausted to feel relief. She'd failed, just like everyone expected. The fact that she'd made it slightly less pathetic than anticipated didn't change the outcome. Hands gripped her arms, Kade, lifting her carefully. She wanted to tell him she could walk, but her legs weren't cooperating. He carried her from the training yard without a word, the crowd parting around them. Behind them, she heard voices. Did you see how many times she got back up? Myra actually had to work for it. Still lost though. Yeah, but did you see? Kade carried her into the pack house, upstairs that made her head spin, into a room she barely registered. He laid her on a bed, soft, impossibly soft after the hard-packed earth of the training yard. Stay still, he ordered. I'll get the healer. Wait. Luna caught his arm with trembling fingers. Was it completely pathetic? Kade looked down at her, and for the first time she saw his expression soften. No, it was brave. Foolish, but brave. I lost. You lost with honor. In Stormwatch, that matters. He gently removed her hand from his arm. Rest now. You have 2 more trials ahead. 2 more chances to fail. 2 more public humiliations. But as Luna's eyes drifted closed, she realized something. She'd gotten back up. Again and again. She'd risen when everything in her screamed to stay down. Maybe that was worth something after all. The healer was an elderly man named Oren with gentle hands and sharp eyes. He tutted over Luna's injuries, cracked ribs, extensive bruising, that split lip, possible concussion, while applying salves that smelled of cedar and something bitter. You're lucky Myra pulled her punches, Oren said, wrapping Luna's ribs with practiced efficiency. She pulled her punches. Luna couldn't imagine what the fight would have been like at full strength. Toward the end. Yes. After you kept getting up, she stopped trying to destroy you and started trying to make you submit. Oren's eyes crinkled. Take it as the compliment it was meant to be. Kade stood by the window, silent. He'd been there the entire time Oren worked, watching with that unreadable expression. The second trial is tomorrow. Luna asked, wincing as Oren pressed something cold against her bruised face. Day after tomorrow, Kade corrected. You need time to recover. The council agreed to give you 2 days between trials. Small mercies. What's the second trial? Luna asked. Knowledge, Garrett had said. They'll test your understanding of pack law, survival skills, history, strategy. Kade turned from the window. It's an oral examination before the full pack. You'll answer questions until they are satisfied or until you fail to answer correctly 3 times. So the opposite of the physical trial, this one would test her mind. Her one actual strength. I can do that, Luna said with more confidence than she felt. Don't underestimate it. Oren warned, finishing his wrapping. The council will ask obscure questions, trick questions. They are trying to eliminate you, remember? They won't make it easy. Nothing here is easy, Luna muttered. No, Oren patted her hand. But you're still here. That's more than most outsiders can say. He gathered his supplies. Rest, eat, heal. You'll need your strength. After he left, silence filled the room. Luna stared at the ceiling, dark wood beams, so different from her father's cottage, and tried not to think about how much everything hurt. You fought well, Kade said finally. I lost. You fought well, he repeated, emphasis on each word. The pack saw that. They are talking about you now, not about how weak you are, but about how you refuse to quit. That matters. Does it matter enough? Luna turned her head to look at him, ignoring the spike of pain. Will they accept me if I fail the other trials? Kade's expression closed off again. I don't know. Honest to the end. Luna closed her eyes, exhaustion pulling at her. Thank you for being honest. Everyone else just lies to make people feel better. I'm not everyone else. No, you're really not. She felt the bed dip as Kade sat on the edge, not close, maintaining proper distance, but present. The claim bond, he said quietly. Can you feel it? Luna searched inside herself, past the pain and fear, to that thread of connection. It was stronger than before, pulsing steadily like a second heartbeat. Yes. It's supposed to be uncomfortable if we're too far apart for too long. That's why I stayed during the healing. He stood. I'll be in the next room if you need anything. Rest now. He moved toward the door. Kade. He paused, looking back. Why did Myra pull her punches at the end? For a moment she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, because even Stormwatch's hardest warriors respect courage. You showed her something unexpected. She responded in kind. Will that be enough for the pack to accept me? I don't know, he said again. But it's a start. He left, closing the door softly behind him. Luna lay in the darkness, cataloguing her injuries, her failures, her small victories. She'd survived day one in Stormwatch. Barely, painfully, but she'd survived. 2 more trials ahead. 2 more chances to prove herself or fail completely. Through the window, she could hear the pack settling in for the night, voices, laughter, the sounds of a community she desperately wanted to belong to but had no idea how to reach. The pendant at her throat caught moonlight, still too heavy, still foreign, but slightly less so than yesterday. Luna closed her eyes and let exhaustion claim her, hoping that tomorrow would bring clarity along with the inevitable pain. In the room next door, Kade sat awake, listening to his mates breathing slow into sleep, and wondering if he'd made a terrible mistake or the best decision of his life. Time would tell. It always did. Chapter 6. 2 days passed in a blur of pain and preparation. Luna spent the first day barely able to move, her body one massive bruise. Oren visited twice daily with fresh salves and stern instructions to rest. Kade brought her meals, simple but nourishing, and stayed long enough to ensure she ate, then disappeared to handle pack business. The second day, Luna forced herself out of bed. She couldn't afford to rest when the knowledge trial loomed. She spent hours with a stack of books Kade had brought her, histories of Stormwatch, guides to pack lore, survival texts that made her head spin with their complexity. You can't memorize everything in 2 days, Kade said, watching her from the doorway as she pored over yet another dense volume. Then I'll memorize what I can and improvise the rest. Luna didn't look up from the page detailing ancient territorial disputes. Knowledge is the one thing I might actually be good at. The council knows that. They'll try to catch you off guard. Let them try. She felt his approval through the claim bond before he spoke. You're different than you were in Riverbend. I'm the same person. Luna finally looked up, meeting his eyes. I just have something to fight for now, even if it's just proving I'm not completely useless. You were never useless. Just underestimated. Kade stepped into the room fully, including by yourself. The words settled something in Luna's chest, a small, warm validation she hadn't realized she needed. Tell me about the council, she said, changing the subject before emotions could overwhelm her. Who should I worry about most? Kade settled into the chair across from her. Garrett, you know, head of the council, former Alpha before he stepped down to let me lead. He's harsh but fair. If you show strength, he'll respect it. And the woman, the one with the calculating eyes. Vera. She's the most dangerous. Kade's expression darkened. She wanted her son to challenge me for Alpha. When I claimed you instead of choosing someone from within the pack, she took it personally. She'll do everything in her power to see you fail. Luna's stomach tightened. Great. An enemy on the council. The other three are less invested. Ronan handles pack resources. He cares more about numbers than politics. Isla manages territorial borders. She's practical above all else. And Thorn, Kade paused. Thorn is our weapons master. He's quiet but observant. Hard to read. So she had one definite enemy, one potential ally in Garrett if she proved herself, and three unknowns. Not the worst odds, but not comforting either. What kind of questions will they ask? Kade leaned back, considering. Pack law, definitely. Vera will probably ask about bonding traditions and alpha succession, trying to catch you admitting you're not qualified to be an alpha's mate. Garrett might focus on Stormwatch history, testing your commitment to learning about your new pack. He paused. And the others could ask anything: survival skills, tracking, territorial lore, combat strategy despite your obvious weakness in that area. He looked at her directly. The key is to answer confidently even when you're not certain. Uncertainty reads as weakness here. Luna nodded, making mental notes. How long does the trial usually last? Until they are satisfied or until you fail 3 questions. Could be an hour. Could be 3. His eyes held hers. Pace yourself. Don't let them rattle you. Easier said than done. But Luna appreciated the advice. That night, she dreamed of questions with no answers, of standing before a crowd that laughed as she fumbled for words. She woke before dawn, heart racing, and spent the remaining hours reviewing everything she'd learned until the words blurred together. When the sun finally rose, Luna dressed carefully in the simple but clean clothes Kade had provided. She braided her hair back tightly, leaving her face exposed. No hiding today. Ready? Kade asked when she emerged from the bedroom. No, but I'm doing it anyway. His mouth quirked, that almost smile again. That's becoming your answer to everything. Could be worse answers. They walked to the war room together, Luna's heart pounding with each step. The claim bond hummed between them, stronger now after 2 days of proximity. It wasn't love. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But it was connection. Solidarity. She wasn't completely alone. The war room was packed even fuller than the training yard had been. Apparently knowledge trials were just as entertaining as combat. The council sat at their long table, elevated slightly so they could look down on whoever stood before them. Luna saw Vera's satisfied smirk and felt her resolve harden. She would not give that woman the satisfaction of watching her crumble. Garrett stood as Luna approached. Luna Hartwell, you have passed the first trial through demonstration of courage. Today you face the second trial, knowledge. You will answer questions about pack law, history, survival, and any other topic the council deems relevant. 3 failures mean elimination. Do you understand? I understand. Then let us begin. Garrett sat, and Vera immediately leaned forward. First question, Vera said, her voice sharp. Recite the 3 primary laws of territorial governance. Easy. Luna had memoized these on day 1. First law, territory boundaries are sacred and may only be changed through formal negotiation or conquest. Second law, neutral zones between territories must remain unoccupied and serve as buffer zones. Third law, trespass into claimed territory without permission is grounds for immediate retaliation. Vera's smile tightened. Correct. Second question, what are the grounds for dissolving a claim bond? Here was the trap. Vera wanted her to admit they were legitimate reasons to dissolve Luna's bond with Kade. According to ancient law, Luna kept her voice steady. A claim bond can be dissolved only through mutual agreement of both parties, death of one party, or council ruling in cases of severe harm, betrayal, or proven incompatibility that threatens pack stability. She paused, then added from memory of an obscure text. However, council rulings on bond dissolution are extremely rare and require unanimous vote, as interfering with claim bonds is considered a grave action against the moon goddess's will. She'd added that last part from a footnote in one of the older texts. Vera's expression soured. Clearly she'd hoped Luna wouldn't know about the unanimous vote requirement. Correct, Vera bit out. Garrett took the next question. Name the 4 territories that border Stormwatch and the agreements that govern our relationships with them. Luna drew on the history she'd absorbed. To the north, the Frostclaw Pack under Alpha Kade. We have a non-aggression treaty established 15 years ago after the Mountain Wars. To the east, the Riverbend Pack, She kept her voice neutral. With whom we have no formal treaty, but maintain peaceful relations through occasional trade. To the south, neutral wilderness claimed by no pack, governed by general interpack law. And to the west. To the west, Garrett prompted. To the west are the shattered peaks, claimed by no pack because the terrain is considered too unstable for permanent settlement. By tradition, it serves as a natural barrier. Correct. Garrett nodded, something like approval in his eyes. The questions continued. Ronan asked about pack resources and winter preparation. Isla questioned her on territorial dispute resolution. Thorn, the quiet weapons master, asked about the properties of various woods used in weapon making, a trick question since it seemed unrelated to pack knowledge, but Luna remembered enough from her father's carpentry work to answer adequately. An hour passed, then two. Luna's throat grew dry from talking, but she hadn't failed a single question yet. She could see the frustration building on Vera's face, the growing respect on Garrett's. The crowd had gone quiet, leaning forward to hear every question and answer. Healing question, Vera said abruptly. A pack member is bitten by a poisoned blade. The poison causes rapid paralysis and respiratory failure. What's your immediate treatment? Poison specific to werewolves, deadly if not treated quickly. Luna's mind raced through Elder Rowan's lessons and the healing texts she'd studied. First, slow the spread. Apply a tourniquet above the wound if it's on a limb. Second, induce vomiting if any poison was ingested, but not if paralysis has already affected the throat muscles. Third, pack the wound with activated charcoal to draw out poison from the entry point. Fourth, create a poultice of bloodroot and silverleaf. Bloodroot slows heart rate to reduce poison circulation. Silverleaf counteracts paralysis. She paused, then added, fifth, keep the victim calm. Fear accelerates heart rate and spreads poison faster. And sixth, prepare for the possibility of death. Even with perfect treatment, werewolf-specific poisons have a 40% fatality rate. Oren, standing in the crowd, nodded approvingly. Vera looked like she'd bitten into something rotten. Correct. The trial continued. 3 hours in, Luna felt her concentration wavering. The questions grew more obscure, more technical. She stumbled slightly on a question about ancient succession laws, catching herself just in time to provide an adequate if not perfect answer. Not a failure. Not yet. Final question, Garrett announced, and Luna's heart leaped. Final question meant she'd made it this far without 3 failures. This one comes from all of us. The council members exchanged glances. Even Vera nodded. You've proven you can memorize facts, Garrett said. Now prove you understand what it means to be part of this pack. In your own words, what is Stormwatch's greatest strength and its greatest weakness? Not a factual question. An opinion. A trap, because any answer could offend someone. Luna took a breath, thinking carefully. The crowd held its breath with her. Stormwatch's greatest strength, she said slowly, is that you demand excellence from everyone. You don't coddle weakness or accept excuses. You've built a pack of warriors who can survive anything because you've taught them they have to. She paused, meeting each council member's eyes. Your greatest weakness is that same strength taken too far. You're so focused on being hard that you sometimes forget to be wise. You test everyone so ruthlessly that you might break someone who just needs guidance to grow into their strength. Her voice grew firmer. I'm that someone. I'm the wolf you would have discarded as cursed and useless. But I'm also the wolf who got back up 17 times in the training yard. Who spent 2 days studying until my vision blurred. Who will keep fighting for my place here no matter how many times you knock me down. She held Garrett's gaze. Your weakness is that you almost missed what I could become because you were too focused on what I am right now. Silence crashed over the war room. Luna had just criticized Stormwatch, their traditions, their methods, their pride, in front of the entire pack. It was either the bravest or stupidest thing she'd ever done. Garrett stared at her for a long moment. Then slowly, he began to smile. Well, he said, that's certainly an answer. Is it correct? Luna asked, because she genuinely didn't know. There is no correct answer to an opinion question, Vera snapped. But it's honest, Garrett interrupted. And it shows understanding of who we are, both light and shadow. He looked at the other council members. I vote to pass her on the second trial. Agreed, said Ronan. Agreed, said Isla. Agreed, said Thorn quietly. All eyes turned to Vera. She looked like she wanted to refuse, to find some technicality that would fail Luna despite everything. But she was trapped by the council's own rules. Agreed. She finally spat. She passes. Garrett stood. Luna Hartwell has passed the second trial through demonstration of knowledge and wisdom. She has earned the right to attempt the third and final trial. The crowd erupted, some cheering, some grumbling, all surprised. Luna swayed on her feet, exhausted beyond measure. 3 hours of mental combat had drained her as thoroughly as Myra's fists. Kade was there suddenly, steadying her with a hand on her elbow. "You did it," he murmured, and she heard genuine pride in his voice. "One more," Luna whispered back. "One more trial." "One more," he agreed. But as he guided her from the war room, past the staring pack members and the frustrated Vera, Luna couldn't help but wonder. If the combat trial had tested her body and the knowledge trial had tested her mind, what could possibly be left for the third trial? What did endurance mean in a pack like Stormwatch? She had a feeling she was about to find out, and that terrified her more than either of the previous trials combined. Chapter 7. Luna had 1 day to recover before the third trial. 1 day to prepare for endurance, whatever that meant in Stormwatch's brutal terms. "It's not physical," Kade explained as they walked through the packlands the morning after her knowledge trial. He'd insisted she needed fresh air, needed to see more of the territory that might become her home. "The combat trial tested your body. The knowledge trial tested your mind. This tests something deeper." "My spirit," Luna guessed, watching pack members train in the distance. Some nodded to her as they passed, not friendly, but acknowledging. A change from the open hostility of days before. "Your will. Your ability to endure what breaks most wolves." Kade's jaw tightened. "I won't lie to you. It's the worst of the 3 trials. The one that makes wolves who pass the first 2 willingly leave." Fear coiled in Luna's stomach. "What happens during it?" "You'll be isolated. Alone in the wilderness for 3 days and nights with nothing but the clothes on your back. You have to survive and make it back to Packlands by the 3rd dawn." "That doesn't sound so terrible. I know basic survival." "That's not the hard part." Kade stopped walking, turning to face her fully. "The hard part is that you'll be given a choice on the second night. The council will send someone with an offer. Come back now, admit you can't handle Stormwatch, and leave with dignity, or stay out there alone and prove you belong." Understanding dawned. "It's a test of commitment. They want to see if I'll quit." "Most do. When you're cold, hungry, alone in the dark with nothing but your thoughts." He shook his head. "Doubt becomes louder than any physical pain. The question becomes, is this pack worth it? Is this life worth suffering for? And if I come back early?" The bond dissolves. "You leave. We both go on with our lives as if this never happened." The casualness in his voice stung, even though Luna knew he was just being practical. Their bond was one of convenience, not love. Of course he'd move on easily. "But if I stay?" she asked. "If you stay and make it back on the 3rd dawn, you're accepted fully. No more trials. No more questions. You become pack." Everything she'd wanted. Everything she'd fought for. Just 3 days away. 3 days alone in hostile territory, fighting her own doubts and fears. When does it start? Tonight. At sunset, you'll be escorted to the boundary and released. From there, you're on your own. Tonight. No more time to prepare. They walked in silence for a while, Luna memoizing the terrain, where water sources might be, which plants were edible, where shelter could be found. Survival knowledge from her father's teachings, things she'd never thought she'd need. "Luna." Kade's voice pulled her from her thoughts. "The claim bond will be strained during the trial. You'll feel disconnected, alone in a way that's hard to describe." "Will it hurt?" "Yes." His honesty was both comforting and terrifying. "Like part of you is missing. That's intentional. Another layer of the test. Can you endure not just physical isolation, but the emotional pain of separation from your mate? Even though we barely know each other. The bond doesn't care about logic. It just knows you're supposed to be together." He stopped again, this time at a cliff edge overlooking the valley. "I need you to understand something. If you choose to quit, I won't think less of you. This pack asks too much sometimes. I know that. But you need a mate before the Winter Solstice Council. I'll find another way." His silver eyes met hers. "Don't stay out there just for me. Stay because you want this life. Because Stormwatch is where you choose to be." The words settled over Luna like a blanket. Heavy, warm, significant. He was giving her permission to quit, to walk away without guilt, which somehow made her more determined to stay. "I'm not quitting," she said firmly. I didn't survive Myra's fists and Vera's questions just to give up in the woods. Kade's expression softened, that rare, genuine smile she'd only seen a handful of times. I was hoping you'd say that. Sunset came too quickly. The entire pack gathered at the boundary to watch Luna's departure. Tradition, Kade explained, so everyone could witness the trial's beginning. Luna stood at the edge of Packlands wearing simple clothes. No supplies, no weapons, nothing but herself and her determination. Garrett stepped forward with the formal words. Luna Hartwell, you face the third trial, endurance. 3 days alone in the wilderness. Return by the third dawn and claim your place among us. Fail, and you leave Stormwatch forever. I understand. Then go. May the moon goddess guide your path. Luna looked back once, finding Kade in the crowd. Their eyes met, and she felt the claim bond pulse between them one last time before distance began to strain it. Then she turned and walked into the wilderness alone. Day 1. The first day was almost manageable. Luna found a stream within an hour, following deer trails through the dense forest. She drank deeply, knowing hydration was critical. Then she focused on shelter, finding a rocky outcropping that would protect her from wind and rain. She gathered pine boughs for insulation, built a small fire using techniques her father had taught her before he died. The physical tasks kept her mind occupied, kept the creeping loneliness at bay. But as darkness fell and the forest came alive with night sounds, isolation set in. Luna sat by her fire, arms wrapped around her knees, and felt the claim bond aching in her chest. It wasn't painful yet, just a dull throb, like a bruise beginning to form. She could feel Kade's presence dimly, miles away, and the distance hurt more than she'd expected. They barely knew each other. This was a practical arrangement, nothing more. So why did separation feel like losing something precious? She tried to sleep but managed only fitful dozing, jerking awake at every crack of branches, every distant howl. Not Stormwatch wolves, something wilder, more dangerous. The neutral territory held threats pack wolves didn't face. Dawn came as a relief. Day 2. Hunger gnawed at Luna's belly. She'd found berries, testing each carefully for poison, and managed to catch a fish in the stream using a makeshift spear. Not enough food, but enough to keep functioning. The claim bond ached worse now, a constant pull back toward Stormwatch, back toward Kade. Luna caught herself walking in that direction twice before forcing herself to stop. Not yet. She had to last until the third dawn. The isolation was worse than hunger, worse than cold or fatigue. Humans, even werewolves, were pack animals. Being alone went against every instinct, every need for connection and community. Luna talked to herself just to hear a voice. Sang songs her father had taught her, anything to fill the oppressive silence. As evening approached, she saw them, 2 wolves on the ridge above her shelter. Not attacking, just watching. Stormwatch wolves, she realized. Observers making sure she didn't die out here, but not interfering. Knowing they were there made the loneliness worse somehow. So close but unreachable. Night fell. Luna huddled by her fire, shivering despite the flames. The temperature had dropped sharply, and her inadequate clothing provided little protection. Then she heard footsteps. A figure emerged from the darkness, Vera, carrying a pack and wearing a sympathetic expression that looked alien on her sharp features. Luna, Vera said softly, I've come to offer you a choice. Here it was, the moment Kade had warned her about. You've proven yourself, Vera continued, settling near the fire. 2 trials passed. 2 days alone out here. No one questions your courage anymore. You can come back now. Leave Stormwatch with honor. Find a pack that won't demand so much from you. She opened the pack, revealing food, water, warm clothes. Or you can take these supplies and stay until dawn tomorrow. No one needs to know I helped you. We'll say you endured on your own. The temptation was crushing. Food, warmth, an end to this nightmare. But Luna heard the trap beneath the kindness. Taking the supplies would be cheating. Accepting help meant failing the trial just as surely as quitting early. Why are you really here? Luna asked, her voice rough from disuse. Vera's mask slipped. Because I want you to fail. Because you don't deserve my Alpha. Don't deserve Stormwatch. She leaned forward. But I'm also practical. You've impressed people. If you pass this trial, you'll have influence. So I'm offering you an out that benefits us both. You leave with dignity, I get you gone, and Kade finds a proper mate. A mate like your son. My son is strong, powerful, everything an alpha needs. Except he's not the one Kade chose. Luna met Vera's eyes. And I'm not quitting. You're shivering so hard you can barely speak. You haven't eaten a real meal in 2 days. The claim bond is tearing you apart. Vera's voice turned sharp. Pride will kill you out here, girl. Then I'll die proud. Luna stood, her legs shaking but holding. Take your supplies and your false sympathy and leave. I'm staying until the third dawn. For a long moment, Vera stared at her. Then she laughed, sharp and bitter. You're either the bravest wolf I've ever met or the most foolish. She shouldered her pack. I suppose we'll find out which by morning. She disappeared into the darkness, leaving Luna alone again. The night stretched endlessly. Luna's fire burned low. She gathered more wood with numb fingers, fed the flames, and tried not to think about warm beds and hot food and Kade's solid presence. The claim bond screamed now, actual pain radiating through her chest. Was Kade feeling this too? Did he lie awake in the pack house, hurting the same way? Did it matter if he was? Luna wrapped her arms around herself and endured. Day 3, dawn. Luna wasn't sure she'd actually slept or just passed in and out of consciousness. Grey light filtered through the trees, and for a moment she couldn't remember where she was. Then it hit her, the third dawn. She'd made it. She had to get back to Packlands. Standing took 3 attempts. Her body had decided overnight that moving was optional. But Luna forced herself upright, stamped out the remains of her fire, and began the journey back. Her sense of direction was usually good, but exhaustion and hunger made everything hazy. The claim bond helped. That aching pull toward Kade was a compass pointing home. Home. When had she started thinking of Stormwatch as home? The sun climbed higher. Luna stumbled over roots, caught herself on trees, kept moving. 1 foot forward, then the other. Again. Again. She lost track of time, lost track of everything except the need to keep moving. Then she heard them, voices. The sound of Packlands. Luna emerged from the tree line and saw them. The entire pack gathered at the boundary, waiting. Kade stood at the front, his face carved from stone, but his eyes burning as they found her. She'd made it. Luna took 3 more steps onto pack territory, and her legs finally gave out. Strong arms caught her. Kade, somehow there instantly. I've got you, he murmured. You made it. You're home. Garrett's voice boomed over the crowd. Luna Hartwell has endured 3 days alone and returned at the third dawn. She has passed the final trial. He paused, and when he spoke again, there was genuine warmth in his voice. Welcome to Stormwatch, Luna Thorncrest. Welcome home. Thorncrest. Not Hartwell. Her mate's name, officially hers now. The pack erupted into howls, the traditional celebration for a new member. Not all the voices were enthusiastic, but enough were genuine that tears stung Luna's eyes. You did it, Kade said against her hair, holding her upright. I didn't think, I hoped, but I wasn't sure you'd last. Not quitting is kind of my thing now, Luna managed, her voice breaking. He laughed, actually laughed, the sound rumbling through his chest. Yeah, I noticed. Oren appeared with blankets and soup. Myra pushed through the crowd, and Luna tensed, but the warrior's expression wasn't hostile. You're tougher than you look, cursed one, Myra said. She held out her hand. Anyone who endures 3 days alone and walks back on their own feet has earned respect. Welcome to the pack. Luna stared at the offered hand for a moment, then took it. Myra's grip was firm but not crushing. Thank you, Luna whispered. More pack members came forward, introducing themselves, offering congratulations, some grudging but present. Even Vera approached, her expression sour but resigned. You passed, Vera said stiffly. That makes you pack. I won't forget my opposition to you, but I won't undermine you either. That's not our way. It wasn't friendship, but it was acceptance. Luna would take it. The celebration began as the pack led her back to the settlement. Food was being prepared, fires lit for the welcoming feast. Luna walked on shaking legs, supported by Kade, and let herself feel it, relief, triumph, and the overwhelming sense of finally belonging somewhere. But as the day wore on and Luna regained her strength, she couldn't shake a nagging feeling. The trials were over. Yes, she'd been accepted into Stormwatch. But real life was just beginning. And something in the way some pack members watched her, not hostile, but calculating, told her that passing the trials was only the first test. Living up to being an alpha's mate, that would be the real challenge. Chapter 8. Winter arrived early in Stormwatch territory. 2 weeks had passed since Luna's acceptance into the pack, and she was still adjusting to her new role. Being an Alpha's mate came with responsibilities she hadn't anticipated. Mediating disputes, attending council meetings, representing Stormwatch at Interpack gatherings. It was exhausting and exhilarating in equal measure. Luna woke to find frost coating the windows, her breath misting in the cold air. Beside her, Kade still slept, a rare sight, since he usually rose before dawn. She took a moment to study him in the grey morning light, still marveling at how much had changed. The claim bond thrummed steadily between them now, growing warmer with each passing day. Not the explosive, fated mate connection of legends, but something they were building together through countless small moments. Shared meals, late-night conversations, his hand finding hers during pack meetings, her learning to read his silences. Kade's eyes opened, silver and alert immediately. "You're staring." "You're stareable," Luna countered, making him huff a laugh. "That's not a word." "It is now." She stretched, wincing at the soreness in her shoulders. Yesterday's training with Myra had been brutal. The warrior had taken Luna on as a personal project, determined to make her at least marginally competent in combat. "How are the ribs?" Kade asked, sitting up, only moderately screaming. Luna had discovered that while she'd never be a warrior like Myra, she could learn to defend herself adequately. More importantly, the regular training had built muscle and stamina she'd never possessed in Riverbend. A sharp knock interrupted their morning. Kade frowned. Visitors this early usually meant trouble. "Enter," he called. Garrett pushed through the door, his expression grim. "We have a situation. Council meeting in 10 minutes. "What kind of situation?" Kade was already moving, pulling on clothes with practiced efficiency. "The kind with teeth." Garrett's eyes flicked to Luna. "You should come too. This concerns you directly." Dread coiled in Luna's stomach as she dressed quickly. Situations that concerned her specifically were never good. The council chamber was tense when they arrived. All 5 members present, plus Myra and several senior pack members. Everyone looked worried. "Alpha Kade." "Luna." Vera began without preamble. "We've received a formal challenge." "From whom?" Kade's voice went dangerously quiet. "Alpha Kane of the Blood Moon Pack." Garrett slid a sealed letter across the table, his invoking the ancient right of contest. Luna's blood ran cold. She'd heard of Alpha Kane. His pack was known for cruelty and conquest, and Kane himself had a reputation for brutality that made even Stormwatch wolves nervous. Kade's face went stone cold as he read the letter. His jaw clenched, the only sign of emotion. "This is absurd," he said finally. "The right of contest hasn't been invoked in decades." "What is it?" Luna asked, looking between the council members. "What's the right of contest?" Ronan, the resource keeper, spoke up. "Ancient pack law. If an alpha takes a mate from outside the pack, any unmated alpha from a neighboring territory can challenge the bond within the first month. They claim the outsider mate for themselves through combat." Luna's stomach dropped. "Challenge the bond? You mean he wants to fight Kade for me?" "Winner takes the mate," Myra said bluntly. "It's barbaric, but it's legal under the old laws. I don't get a say in this." Anger sparked through Luna's fear. "I'm just property to be won." "According to the old laws, yes," Isla said, and there was something almost sympathetic in her expression. "The right of contest comes from a time when alliances were forged through forced bondings. It's outdated, but it's still technically enforceable." Kade slammed his fist on the table, making everyone jump. "I won't honor this. Kane can take his challenge, Anne." "And if you refuse, Stormwatch is labeled oath breakers," Garrett interrupted firmly. "Every pack in the region will have grounds to declare us outcast. We'll lose all trading rights, all treaties, all protection under interpack law." "So we're trapped," Luna said quietly. "Yes." Garrett met her eyes. "I'm sorry, Luna, but Kade will have to fight." Luna's mind raced. She'd heard of Alpha Kane. Blood Moon Pack was known for its brutality, and Kane himself had gone through 4 mates already, each one dying under mysterious circumstances. And now he wanted her. "When?" Kade asked, his voice deadly calm. 3 days from now. Neutral territory, witnessed by representatives from all neighboring packs. Garrett paused. "It's to the death, Kade. Or until one alpha yields." "Kane won't yield. Neither will I." Kade's silver eyes burned. "He's been looking for an excuse to challenge me for years. This isn't about Luna. It's about taking Stormwatch." "Actually," Vera said slowly, and Luna felt a chill at her tone. "According to the letter, if Kane wins, he only claims Luna. Stormwatch remains yours. That's the terms he set. Something cold slithered down Luna's spine. Why would he want me specifically? He doesn't even know me. Because you're the weak point, Thorn, the weapons master, said matter-of-factly. You're an outsider, a cursed wolf, and you've only been in Stormwatch 2 weeks. Kane sees you as an easy target. Humiliate Kade by taking his mate, weaken his standing among the packs. It's a power play. And a smart one, Kade agreed grimly. If I lose you, I look weak. Other alphas will start circling, looking for more vulnerabilities. Luna felt sick. She'd become a liability. Exactly what she'd feared. Her presence was putting Kade and the entire pack at risk. There has to be another way, she said desperately. What if I dissolve the bond myself? Voluntarily? No. Kade's response was immediate and sharp. Absolutely not. But if it would protect? I said no. He turned to face her fully, his expression fierce. You fought too hard to be here. I'm not letting you sacrifice yourself because some brute thinks he can intimidate us. The right of contest allows for a champion. Thorn spoke up for the first time. Kade doesn't have to fight personally. He can name someone to fight in his place. Who would be strong enough? Myra asked. Kane is enormous. He outweighs most of us by 100 pounds, and he's a vicious fighter. I'll fight him myself, Kade said flatly. No one else risks their life for my mate. The possessiveness in his voice sent warmth through Luna despite the dire circumstances. He wasn't going to abandon her. Wasn't going to let her be taken. But could he win? What are Kane's chances? Luna asked Garrett directly. Honestly. The old alpha considered for a long moment. In a fair fight, Kade wins. He's faster, smarter, more controlled. He paused. But Kane doesn't fight fair. He'll use every dirty trick, every advantage. And he's bigger, has longer reach. It'll be close. Too close. Luna could read it in everyone's faces. They were worried. Really worried. I need to see him, Luna said suddenly. Before the fight, I need to meet Alpha Kane. Absolutely not, Kade said. Why not? If he's so determined to claim me, I want to look him in the eye. Understand what we're dealing with. Luna's mind was already working. Knowledge is power, right? Maybe I can find something, a weakness, a tell, anything that might help. Or he'll intimidate you, break your spirit before the fight even begins, Vera countered. That's what he wants. Then I won't let him. Luna stood straighter. I survived 3 trials to be here. I can handle meeting the alpha who thinks I'm weak enough to steal. Myra laughed suddenly, sharp and approving. I like that fire. Let her go. Worst case, she learns nothing. Best case, she grinned. She rattles him by showing she's not afraid. It's too dangerous, Kade insisted. Everything about this situation is dangerous, Luna shot back. At least let me try to help. I'm not going to sit here doing nothing while you fight for my life. Their eyes locked, silver meeting brown, and Luna felt the claim bond pulse between them. She pushed every ounce of determination through it, letting him feel her resolve. Finally, Kade exhaled sharply. Fine, but I'm coming with you. And Myra. And a full security detail. Deal. Garrett stood. I'll send word to Kane that you're requesting a meeting. He'll probably agree. Alphas like him enjoy showing off their dominance. He looked at Luna with something like respect. You've got courage, girl. Let's hope it's enough. As the council dispersed, Luna felt Kade's hand find hers, squeezing gently. You don't have to do this, he said quietly. Yes, I do. Luna squeezed back. You've fought for me since the moment we met. It's time I fought for us too. His expression softened. When did you get so brave? The moment a scarred alpha told me to act like I was his. Luna managed a small smile. Turns out pretending to be brave long enough makes it real. Kade pulled her close, pressing his forehead to hers. If anything happens to you, nothing will. You're going to win this fight, and we're going to have a very boring, peaceful winter. She said it with more confidence than she felt. But as they stood together in the empty council chamber, Luna couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change again. She'd fought to join Stormwatch. Now she'd have to fight to stay. The meeting with Kane was scheduled for the next day, neutral territory, halfway between Stormwatch and Blood Moon. Luna spent the evening preparing, asking Garrett about Kane's history, studying what little information they had about him, trying to find any advantage she could. He's been alpha for 20 years, Garrett told her over dinner. took the position by killing his predecessor in a challenge. Since then, he's ruled Blood Moon with absolute brutality. 4 mates, all dead within 3 years of bonding. Officially, Luna asked. Accidents, falls, hunting mishaps, illness. Garrett's expression was grave. Unofficially, everyone knows he killed them. We just can't prove it. Luna's stomach turned. If Kade loses. He won't, Garrett said firmly. But if he does, he leaned forward. There are ways out, Luna. Ways to escape before the bond fully transfers. We could help you disappear, give you a new identity. No, Luna's voice was firm. I won't run. And I won't let Kade fight alone, even if I can't be in the arena with him. Garrett studied her for a long moment, then nodded. You really have become one of us, haven't you? That stubborn Stormwatch pride. Is that what this is? Luna asked with a wry smile. That and genuine courage. Garrett stood. Get some rest. Tomorrow you meet the monster. That night, Luna lay awake beside Kade, listening to his steady breathing and trying not to think about all the ways this could go wrong. Can't sleep, Kade's voice rumbled in the darkness. Too much thinking. He rolled to face her, his eyes gleaming in the moonlight filtering through the window. What are you thinking about? That I never expected my life to include alpha combat challenges and possible death by murderous brute. Luna tried for humor, but it fell flat. Me neither. Kade reached out, tucking hair behind her ear. I thought this would be simple, political arrangement, mutual benefit, everyone moves on with their lives. Instead, I'm fighting to keep the most stubborn, brilliant, infuriating wolf I've ever met. His voice softened. And I'm terrified of losing. The admission hung between them, raw and honest. Luna felt tears prick her eyes. The claim bond, she whispered. It's changed, hasn't it? Yeah. Kade's thumb traced her cheekbone. Somewhere between you bleeding in the training yard and refusing to quit in the wilderness, it stopped being convenient and started being real. Real enough to die for. Real enough to kill for. His eyes hardened. Kane won't take you. I won't let him. Luna believed him. But she also knew that confidence didn't guarantee victory. Promise me something, she said. Anything. If something goes wrong, if somehow Kane wins, promise me you'll let me go. Don't do anything stupid trying to get me back. Protect Stormwatch first. No. Kade. No, he repeated firmly. I'm not promising that. If he takes you, I'll burn Blood Moon to the ground and salt the earth. That's my promise. It should have scared her, the violence in his voice, the absolute certainty. Instead, it made her feel safer than she'd ever felt in her life. Okay, she whispered. Then I promise you something. I won't go easily. If Kane wins, he'll have to drag me away kicking and screaming. And I'll make his life hell every single day until you come for me. Kade's laugh was rough. That's my girl. Your girl. Luna repeated, testing the words. Yeah, I think you are. He kissed her then, deep and desperate and full of everything they hadn't said yet. Luna kissed him back, pouring her fear and hope and determination into it. Tomorrow she'd face the monster who wanted to steal her life. But tonight, she was exactly where she belonged. Chapter 9. The neutral ground was a clearing in the forest, marked by ancient standing stones that predated any pack's memory. Luna arrived with Kade, Myra, and 6 of Stormwatch's most trusted warriors. The air was crisp with winter cold, and her breath misted as she stepped from the vehicle. Alpha Matthias was already there. He stood in the center of the clearing, massive and imposing. Luna had thought Kade was large, but Matthias dwarfed him, 7.5 feet of pure muscle, with a brutal face that spoke of countless battles. His eyes were pale yellow, cold and calculating as they fixed on her. So this is the prize, Matthias said, his voice a rumble like an avalanche. The cursed wolf that's caused so much fuss. Luna felt Kade tense beside her, but she stepped forward before he could respond. I'm Luna Thorncrest, and I'm nobody's prize. Matthias laughed, a sound that made her skin crawl. Thorncrest, you've taken his name already. How touching. He moved closer, circling her like a predator. Tell me, cursed one, does he keep you warm at night? Does he make you feel protected? He makes me feel valued, Luna said, keeping her voice steady. Something I doubt you understand. The smile dropped from Matthias's face. Careful, girl. You're not pack yet. Not truly. And disrespect to an alpha has consequences. I'm here because you challenged my claim bond. Because you think you can take what's not yours through violence. Luna held his gaze, refusing to look away despite every instinct screaming at her to submit. That sounds like disrespect to me. Matthias's eyes flashed gold, his wolf rising to the surface. Bold words from such a weak creature. I could snap you in half. Then why haven't you? Luna took a step closer, her heart hammering but her feet steady. Why challenge Kade at all? If you're so confident in your strength, why not just take what you want? Because that's not how this works, Myra said from behind Luna, her voice hard. Even brutes like you have to follow pack law sometimes. Matthias's attention shifted to Myra, and something ugly crossed his face. Myra Blackwater. Still playing warrior in Stormwatch. I remember when you tried to join Blood Moon. What was it I said? Oh yes, you weren't vicious enough. And yet here I am, head warrior of a pack that doesn't need to terrorize its members into submission. Myra's smile was all teeth. Funny how that works. The tension ratcheted higher. Matthias's warriors, 6 of them, all massive and scarred, moved closer. Stormwatch's warriors responded in kind. The clearing felt like a powder keg waiting for a spark. Enough. Kade's voice cut through the hostility. Matthias, you wanted to meet my mate. You've met her. Now let's discuss terms. Terms. Matthias turned his attention back to Kade. The terms are simple. We fight in 2 days. I win. She comes with me. You win. I leave Stormwatch alone. Standard right of claiming. And if you lose, you forfeit any future claims on Luna or Stormwatch territory, Kade added. Complete and permanent. Agreed. Matthias's smile was predatory. Though I won't lose. I haven't lost a challenge in 20 years. There's a first time for everything, Luna said quietly. Matthias looked at her again. Really looked this time. Luna felt his gaze like ice water, searching for weakness, for fear. She forced herself to stand tall, to meet his eyes without flinching. You've got spirit, Matthias said finally. I'll enjoy breaking it. You'll never get the chance, Kade growled, moving to stand beside Luna. We'll see. Matthias gestured to his warriors. 2 days, Thorncrest. Don't be late. I'd hate for you to forfeit by cowardice. He shifted then, a massive grey-brown wolf with eyes like winter, and his pack followed suit. They disappeared into the forest within seconds, leaving Stormwatch alone in the clearing. Luna's legs nearly gave out. She'd held herself together through sheer willpower, but now that Matthias was gone, fear crashed over her in waves. You okay? Myra asked, steadying her with a hand on her shoulder. I just stared down a murderer and lived. I'm processing. Luna's voice shook slightly. You did more than stare him down, one of the warriors said, a young male named Finn. You challenged him. Nobody challenges Matthias. She's either the bravest or craziest wolf I've ever met, another warrior added with something like admiration. Both, Myra said firmly. Definitely both. Kade pulled Luna close, and she felt him trembling slightly. Don't ever do that again. When you stepped toward him, I had to show him I'm not afraid. You should be afraid. He's killed 4 mates, Luna. 4. He didn't. Luna pulled back enough to look up at him. And he won't. But I learned something. What? He's arrogant. Overconfident. He thinks winning is inevitable. Luna's mind raced, replaying every moment of the encounter. He barely looked at you, Kade. All his attention was on me, on proving how dominant he is, how inevitable his victory is. That's just posturing, Myra said, but she looked thoughtful. Maybe. Or maybe it's a genuine blind spot. Luna looked at Kade. He's so confident in his physical superiority that he doesn't consider strategy. He fights like a battering ram, overwhelming force, no finesse. You got all that from 10 minutes? Finn asked, impressed. I got it from the way he moved, the way he talked, the way he dismissed everything that wasn't direct confrontation. Luna's father had taught her to observe people, to read the truth beneath their words. He's strong, yes, but he's also predictable. Kade's expression shifted from worry to calculation. If he fights the way you think he does, you can use it against him, Luna finished. You're faster, smarter. If you don't let him dictate the fight, if you make him chase you, wear him down. He'll get frustrated. Make mistakes. Kade's eyes gleamed. And 1 mistake is all I need. Myra was nodding now. We have 2 days to prepare. Let's make them count. They returned to Stormwatch immediately, and Kade threw himself into training with single-minded focus. Myra drilled him relentlessly, focusing on speed and evasion rather than direct confrontation. Luna watched from the sidelines, taking mental notes, looking for any advantage they could exploit. That evening, she found Garrett in the Pack library, searching through ancient texts. "Looking for something specific?" she asked. Garrett glanced up, his scarred face weary. "Precedents. Past challenges under the right of claiming. Trying to find if anyone's ever successfully defended against someone like Matthias. And most defenders lose. The challengers invoke the right specifically because they are confident they can win." He closed the book with a heavy thud. "I'm sorry, Luna. I wish I had better news." Luna sat across from him, thinking. "Garrett, what happens if the fight is interrupted? If something prevents it from being completed? Such as? I don't know. What if I wasn't there? If the mate being challenged doesn't witness the fight, does it still count?" Garrett frowned. "Traditionally, the mate must be present. It's part of the challenge. The victor claims their prize immediately." He pulled out another text, flipping through pages. "But there's no explicit requirement in the law itself, just tradition. So if I wasn't there, the fight could proceed, but the immediate claiming couldn't happen. Theoretically. But Matthias would just hunt you down afterward if he won." Garrett studied her carefully. "What are you thinking?" "I'm thinking that traditions become laws because nobody questions them. But if we're dealing with ancient laws nobody's invoked in 70 years, maybe there are loopholes nobody's considered." Luna leaned forward. "What if we could disqualify Matthias before the fight even begins? On what grounds? That's what I need to figure out." Luna's mind raced through everything she'd learned about Pack law. There has to be something, some requirement he's not meeting, some technicality we can exploit. Garrett's expression shifted to something like hope. "You know, for someone who was considered the weakest wolf in her old pack, you think like an alpha." "I think like someone who's tired of being underestimated." Luna stood. "Keep looking through those texts. Anything about challenge requirements, witness rules, grounds for disqualification. I'll do the same." They worked through the night, poring over dusty volumes that hadn't been opened in decades. Pack law, ancient treaties, historical precedents. Luna's eyes burned from reading by candlelight, but she refused to stop. Somewhere in these pages was the answer. It had to be. As dawn broke, Luna found it, a single paragraph in a text so old the pages crumbled at her touch. Requirements for invoking the right of claiming. She read it 3 times to make sure she understood correctly, then ran to find Garrett. He was asleep at his desk, head pillowed on an open book. Luna shook him awake. "Garrett, look at this." He blinked blearily at the page she thrust in front of him. Then his eyes widened. "Moon goddess above," he breathed. "How did we miss this?" "Because nobody's invoked the right of claiming in 70 years, and this book is probably twice that old." Luna could barely contain her excitement. "It's right there. The challenger must prove they can provide for the mate they are claiming. Specifically, they must demonstrate adequate territory, resources, and stable pack structure. Matthias has all that. Blood Moon is a large pack with substantial territory. But look at the next line." Luna pointed. "The challenger must also prove no prior claims exist on their ability to mate. Meaning no existing mates, no broken bonds, no deaths of previous mates under suspicious circumstances." Garrett finished, sitting up straight. Understanding crashed over him. "Luna, if we can prove Matthias killed his previous mates, he's disqualified from claiming a new one under the right of claiming. Can we prove it?" "I don't know, but we have 2 days to try." Garrett was already moving, gathering papers. "We need to contact wolves who knew his mates, get testimonies, build a case. Will the challenge council accept it? If we present evidence before the fight begins, they'll have to consider it. It's law." Garrett gripped her shoulders. "Luna, you might have just saved Kade's life. And your own." Relief and hope warred with caution in Luna's chest. "We still need proof. Real, undeniable proof. Then let's find it." They woke the council. Within an hour, messengers were dispatched to neighboring packs, to anyone who might have information about Matthias's dead mates. Kade was brought in and briefed. His expression shifted from confusion to fierce hope. "If this works," he started. "It has to work," Luna said firmly. "Because I'm not letting you die for me, and I'm definitely not becoming Matthias's next victim." Kade pulled her close. "Have I mentioned lately that you're extraordinary?" "Not in the last few hours." "Consider it mentioned." He kissed her forehead. You might have just beaten a challenge before it even began. Don't celebrate yet. We still need evidence. But Luna allowed herself a small smile. Though, she had to admit, she was getting really good at this whole refusing to lose thing. It's your best quality, Myra said from the doorway. She'd been training all night and looked exhausted. Though if we're calling off the fight, someone should probably tell my muscles. They are very confused about why I pushed Kade so hard. We're not calling anything off yet, Garrett warned. This is a long shot. Matthias has covered his tracks well. Getting anyone to testify against him will be dangerous. Then we make it worth the danger, Luna said. We offer protection, sanctuary and stormwatch for anyone brave enough to speak truth. Whatever it takes. Kade looked at her with something like awe. 2 weeks ago, you were the cursed one nobody wanted. Now you're strategizing like a born leader. 2 weeks ago, I had nothing to fight for. Luna corrected. Now I have everything. That changes a person. It did. And as messengers returned throughout the day with whispers of testimony, rumors of evidence, Luna felt hope building. They had a chance. A real chance. Now they just had to survive long enough to use it. Chapter 10. The day of the challenge dawned grey and cold. Luna woke with Kade's arms wrapped around her, both of them having barely slept. Today would decide everything. Their future, their bond, their very lives. Did the last messenger return? Luna asked quietly. An hour ago. Kade's voice was rough. Garrett has the testimony compiled. 3 witnesses willing to speak against Matthias. All former Blood Moon Pack members who fled after his mates died. Is it enough? It's not perfect evidence, but it's enough to raise serious questions. He paused. We're about to find out. They dressed in formal attire, Luna in the deep blue robes that marked her as Stormwatch's alpha mate, Kade in the ceremonial leathers of a challenged alpha. The entire pack would travel to neutral territory for the challenge. Win or lose, everyone needed to witness it. The council met them at the pack house entrance. Garrett carried a leather satchel containing all their evidence. Testimonies, documents, even a healer's report on one of Matthias's mates that suggested poisoning rather than natural death. This is going to be ugly, Vera warned, and the fact that she looked genuinely concerned told Luna how serious this was. Matthias won't take the accusation lightly. Even if we disqualify him from the right of claiming, he might challenge anyway. Claim regular combat challenge instead. Then we fight, Kade said simply. But at least it won't be for Luna. Regular challenges don't have mate claiming attached. Small comfort if you die, Myra muttered, but she fell into step beside them. The journey to neutral territory felt both endless and too short. Luna sat pressed against Kade in the vehicle, their hands intertwined, the claim bond humming between them. She could feel his fear, not for himself, but for her, and her own fear, sharp and bright, that everything they'd built might shatter today. Whatever happens, Luna said softly, I want you to know something. Don't, Kade's grip tightened. Don't do goodbyes. We're not losing today. I'm not saying goodbye. I'm saying thank you. Luna turned to look at him fully. You chose me when nobody else would. You gave me a chance to prove myself. Even if this all goes wrong. It won't. Even if it does, I've had more real life in these few weeks than in 25 years in Riverbend. So thank you for seeing something in me worth choosing. Kade's expression cracked, the stone facade falling away to reveal raw emotion. I'm not losing you. I can't. The claim bond, Luna, it's not convenient anymore. It's not political. I know, she whispered. I feel it too. They didn't say the words. Didn't need to. Love was in the way he held her, in the way she'd fought for him, in every moment they'd built together. The convoy pulled into the clearing. Dozens of vehicles were already there. Representatives from every pack in the region come to witness the challenge. The standing stones loomed like silent judges, ancient and implacable. And at the center, waiting with his warriors, stood Matthias. He looked even more massive in the grey morning light, a mountain of muscle and menace. His pale yellow eyes found Luna immediately, and he smiled. The expression made her skin crawl. Thorncrest, Matthias called out. Ready to lose everything. Ready to expose you for the murderer you are, Kade called back. The clearing went silent. Every wolf present turned to stare. Matthias's smile vanished. Careful with your accusations, pup. I'm careful with the truth. Kade stepped forward, and Garrett moved with him, holding the evidence satchel. Before this challenge proceeds, we invoke the right of inquiry. We present evidence that Alpha Matthias is unfit to claim a mate under the right of claiming. This is outrageous, one of Matthias's warriors snarled. You can't. We can. Garrett's voice carried across the clearing with the authority of age and experience. Pack law is clear. If a challenger's fitness is questioned before combat begins, evidence must be heard by neutral arbiters. I am the neutral arbiter. A new voice spoke. An elderly woman stepped forward from the crowd. So old her hair was pure white, her face a map of wrinkles, but her eyes were sharp and her presence commanded instant respect. Luna recognized her from Kade's descriptions. Elder Moira, the oldest living alpha in the region, retired but still consulted on matters of pack law. Elder Moira, Matthias said with forced respect. This is unnecessary. Is it? Moira's gaze was penetrating. You've invoked ancient law, Alpha Matthias. Ancient law comes with ancient scrutiny. She turned to Garrett. Present your evidence. Garrett opened the satchel and began pulling out documents. 4 of Alpha Matthias's previous mates are dead, all within 3 years of bonding. All under circumstances officially ruled accidental. Accidents happen, Matthias said coldly. Not 4 times in 20 years. Not with the same pattern. Garrett held up the first testimony. Witness 1, Elena Swiftwater, former Blood Moon healer. She treated Matthias's first mate before her death. Here's her sworn statement describing symptoms consistent with nightshade poisoning, not the natural illness officially recorded. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Nightshade poisoning was murder, slow, agonizing, and unmistakable to trained healers. She's a liar, Matthias spat. Elena was expelled from my pack for incompetence. Expelled or fled? Garrett pulled out another document. Witness 2, Marcus Gray, warrior who served under Matthias until 7 years ago. His statement details how Matthias's second mate died, pushed from a cliff during a hunt, officially ruled accidental. Marcus saw Matthias argue with her minutes before. Saw him walk away from the cliff's edge alone. Speculation and lies from disgruntled former pack members. Matthias's voice was rising. This is character assassination. Then explain the third death. Garrett's voice was steel. Witness 3, Dr. Sarah Chen, human physician who examined Matthias's third mate at a neutral clinic after she appeared seeking help. The mate claimed abuse, showed evidence of repeated trauma. Dr. Chen documented everything. He held up a medical report. 1 week later, the mate died. Officially ruled a hunting accident. The silence was deafening. Elder Moira stepped forward and took the documents, reading through each one with methodical care. The minutes stretched like hours. Luna felt Kade's tension through the bond. Felt her own heart hammering against her ribs. Finally, Moira looked up. Alpha Matthias, these allegations are serious. While not definitive proof of murder, they establish a pattern of suspicious deaths that calls into question your fitness to claim another mate. This is absurd, Matthias snarled. I'm being accused by cowards who fled my pack. You're being accused by witnesses with documented evidence, Moira corrected firmly. Evidence that suggests you pose a lethal threat to potential mates. Under the ancient law you invoked, a challenger must prove they can provide safe harbor for the mate they claim. You have not proven this. In fact, evidence suggests the opposite. So what? Matthias's control was slipping, his wolf rising to the surface. You're denying me the challenge. I'm denying you the right of claiming, Moira said. You may not claim Luna Thorncrest as a mate through challenge. That right is forfeit. Victory surged through Luna, sweet and sharp. They'd done it. They'd actually. Fine, Matthias growled. Then I invoke standard territorial challenge. Not for the mate, for the territory. I challenge Kade Thorncrest for leadership of Stormwatch Pack. No. The clearing erupted in chaos. This was worse. So much worse. A territorial challenge was to the death. No yielding, no mercy. Winner took the entire pack. You can't, Isla protested. There are protocols, procedures. I'm invoking my right as a neighboring alpha to challenge for territory I believe is being mismanaged, Matthias said, his voice cutting through the noise. Stormwatch has grown too powerful under Thorncrest. I'm declaring it a threat to regional stability. That's a lie, Myra shouted. You just want revenge because your first plan failed. It's also legal, Elder Moira said reluctantly. Territorial challenges can be invoked if the challenger can demonstrate reasonable cause. Matthias's claim of regional instability is thin, but it meets the minimum requirement. Kade's hand found Luna's, squeezing hard. It's okay, he murmured. This was always a possibility. You'll have to kill him, Luna whispered. Or he'll kill you. I know. Can you win? Kade looked at her, and in his eyes she saw absolute certainty. Yes, because I have something worth fighting for. He's just fighting out of spite. Elder Moira raised her hand for silence. The challenge is accepted. Combat will proceed immediately. Shift and fight. The victor claims all. The crowd pulled back, forming a wide circle around the standing stones. Matthias was already stripping off his shirt, his scarred torso a testament to decades of violence. Kade did the same, and Luna saw the difference between them. Matthias was larger, but Kade was leaner, more controlled. Remember what we talked about, Luna said urgently. Don't let him control the fight. Use your speed. I remember. Kade cupped her face in his hands. I love you. I should have said it before, but I'm saying it now. I love you, Luna. Taze stung her eyes. I love you too. So you'd better win, because I'm not done with you yet. He kissed her, fierce and quick, then moved to the center of the circle. Matthias was waiting, already shifted into his massive grey-brown wolf. He was enormous in wolf form, all teeth and muscle and barely contained rage. Kade shifted. His silver-grey wolf was smaller than Matthias's, but moved with liquid grace. He circled slowly, silver eyes calculating, looking for openings. Matthias lunged. The battle was brutal from the first moment. Matthias fought like Luna had predicted, overwhelming force, trying to use size and strength to crush his opponent. Kade danced away, teeth finding flesh but never staying still long enough for Matthias to pin him. Blood stained the ground within minutes. Luna watched with her heart in her throat, nails digging into her palms. Every time Matthias's jaws snapped close to Kade's throat, she felt the claim bond scream in terror. Every time Kade's teeth found purchase, tearing flesh, she felt grim satisfaction. The fight raged on. 5 minutes became 10, then 15. Matthias was tiring, his attacks growing sloppier, his breathing labored. He'd expected a quick victory, overwhelming force crushing opposition. But Kade refused to be crushed. He bled from a dozen wounds but kept moving, kept striking, wearing down his larger opponent like water-wearing stone. Come on, Myra muttered beside Luna. Finish it, Kade. Finish it. As if hearing her, Kade changed tactics. Instead of circling away from Matthias's next charge, he dove forward, under the larger wolf's guard. His teeth found the vulnerable underside of Matthias's throat and clamped down. Matthias howled, a sound of rage and terror combined. He thrashed wildly, trying to shake Kade off, but Kade's jaws were locked tight. They rolled across the ground, a tangle of fur and blood and desperation. Then Matthias went still. Not dead, Luna could see his side still heaving, but defeated. Unable to continue. Kade released his throat and stepped back, still in wolf form, watching to see if Matthias would rise for another attack. Matthias shifted back to human, one hand pressed to his bleeding throat. His face was a mask of rage and humiliation. Yield, Elder Moira commanded. Yield or die, Alpha Matthias. For a long moment, Luna thought Matthias would choose death over humiliation. His eyes burned with hatred as they fixed on Kade. Then, finally, he spat out the word, yield. The clearing erupted in howls. Stormwatch wolves celebrating, others simply acknowledging the victory. Kade shifted back to human, swaying slightly from blood loss and exhaustion. Luna ran to him, supporting his weight. You did it. You won. We won, he corrected, leaning on her. Your plan saved us before the fight even started. Everything after was just cleanup. Elder Moira approached Matthias, who was being tended by his own pack members. Alpha Matthias, you challenged and lost. Under pack law, you forfeit your right to make any future claims against Stormwatch or its alpha mate. Do you acknowledge this? I acknowledge it. Matthias ground out. He looked at Luna, and the hatred in his eyes made her step closer to Kade. Enjoy your victory, cursed one. It won't last forever. That sounds like a threat, Kade said quietly. It's a promise. Matthias stood despite his wounds. Stormwatch may have won today, but there are always more challenges. More threats. Your little mate might have been clever once, but cleverness runs out eventually. So does luck, Myra said, moving to stand beside Kade and Luna. And you've just run out of yours. Leave our territory now. Matthias's warriors helped him to his vehicle. The Blood Moon contingent departed in tense silence, leaving the gathered packs to witness the aftermath. Elder Moira approached Kade with something like approval. You fought well, Alpha Thorncrest. And your mate. She turned to Luna. Your mate fought even better, using law and evidence instead of claws and teeth. That's wisdom. Thank you, Elder, Luna said, her voice shaking slightly with relief and delayed fear. Treasure her, Mora told Kade. Mates who can think and fight are rare. Don't waste this gift. I won't, Kade promised. As the packs began to disperse, Stormwatch's wolves surrounded their alpha and his mate. Garrett clasped Kade's shoulder. Vera offered a rare smile to Luna. Even wolves who'd been skeptical of her now looked at her with respect. You saved us, one of them said. Your research, your plan, it saved all of us. We saved ourselves, Luna corrected. Together. That's what packs do. The celebration at Stormwatch that night was legendary. Fire pits blazed against the winter darkness. Food and drink flowed freely, and stories of the challenge were already being embellished into pack mythology. Luna sat with Kade away from the main celebration, in a quiet corner where they could finally breathe. His wounds had been stitched and bandaged. He'd heal completely within days thanks to wolf metabolism. But for now he looked exhausted and content. I meant what I said, Kade murmured, pulling her close. I love you. Not because of convenience or politics. Because you're brilliant and stubborn and you've changed everything. I love you too, Luna whispered. Though I have to say, your courting techniques are unconventional. Most alphas don't include death threats and combat challenges in the romance. He laughed, the sound warm against her hair. Most alphas don't get mates who can outthink territorial challenges. Guess we're both special. Special, Luna agreed, then sobered. Matthias's threat though. Do you think he'll come back? Maybe. Probably. Kade's arms tightened around her. But we'll be ready. You taught me that today, that strength isn't just about fighting. It's about thinking, planning, using every advantage we have. We make a good team. The best. He tilted her face up to his. Marry me. Luna blinked. What? Marry me. Properly. Not just a claim bond for politics, but a real marriage. The whole ceremony, vows before the moon goddess, everything. His eyes were earnest. I want everyone to know you're not just my mate. You're my partner, my equal, my choice, every single day. Tears spilled down Luna's cheeks. Yes, of course yes. He kissed her then, deep and slow and full of promise. Around them, the pack celebrated. Above them, the moon shone bright and full. And between them, the claim bond sang with joy. Luna had started this journey as an unwanted cursed one, sitting alone at a claiming night. Now she was Luna Thorncrest, alpha mate, strategist, warrior in her own right, and beloved partner to the most dangerous alpha in 3 territories. She'd been chosen when no one else would. And in being chosen, she'd found herself. The end of her old life. The beginning of everything new. If Luna's journey from invisible to invaluable has touched your heart, if you believe that our greatest strength lies not in never falling but in rising every single time, then subscribe now. Join a community that knows worth isn't given, it's earned, fought for, and proven through courage that refuses to break. Thank you for witnessing Luna's transformation. Thank you for believing that even the cursed wolf can change everything. 6 months later, spring came to Stormwatch with warmth and new life. Luna stood in the war room, now redecorated to reflect both Kade's strength and her own growing influence. Maps covered one wall, not just of Stormwatch territory, but of all the neighboring packs, trade routes, alliance possibilities. She'd become Stormwatch's unofficial diplomat, her ability to think strategically proving invaluable in negotiations. The Riverbend delegation will be here tomorrow, Kade said, entering with papers in hand. Alpha Silvermane is bringing a proposal for expanded trade agreements. And an apology, I hope, Luna said wryly, considering how they'd treated their cursed daughter before she left. You're not bitter at all, Kade teased. Just realistic. But Luna smiled. She'd written to Elder Rowan, her old friend from Riverbend, and maintained that connection. The rest of that pack could think what they wanted. She'd found her real home. A knock at the door interrupted them. Myra entered, followed by a young female Luna had never seen before, small, trembling, with fresh bruises on her face. Alpha Kade. Luna. Myra said formally. This is Arya. She's seeking sanctuary. From where? Kade asked, already alert. Blood Moon. Arya's voice was barely a whisper. Alpha Matthias wanted to make me his mate. After you defeated him, he's been worse. more violent. I couldn't stay. Luna's heart clenched. She crossed to Arya immediately, taking her hands gently. You're safe now. Stormwatch grants you sanctuary. No one will force you into anything here. But Alpha Matthias has no power here, Kade said firmly. You're under our protection now. Arya's eyes filled with tears. Thank you. Thank you so much. As Myra led Arya away to get settled, Luna turned to Kade. We need to do something about Blood Moon. About alphas like Matthias who abuse their power. I know. But changing pack law across territories, Kade shook his head. That's a generational fight. Then let's start it. Luna moved to the maps, her mind already working. We can't save everyone, but we can offer sanctuary to those who escape. Build a reputation as a pack that protects the vulnerable. Slowly, other packs will have to follow our example or lose wolves to us. Kade came to stand beside her, looking at the maps with new perspective. You want to change the entire pack system. I want to make sure no one else has to sit alone at a claiming night, feeling worthless and unwanted. Luna looked up at him. I want to make sure there are options for wolves who don't fit the traditional mold. Is that crazy? Probably. Kade wrapped his arms around her from behind. But it's the kind of crazy that changes the world. Let's do it together. They stood before the maps, planning their future. A future where strength came in many forms, where cursed ones could become alphas in their own right, where being chosen wasn't about physical power but about character, courage, and the refusal to give up. Luna had been chosen by a scarred alpha who'd needed a political mate. But in the choosing, they'd both found something neither expected: real love, real partnership, and the power to change not just their own lives, but the lives of every wolf who came after. She'd started alone, cursed, unwanted. She'd found everything. And she was just getting started. The wedding took place under the full moon, with the entire pack gathered to witness. Luna wore white, reclaiming the color that had marked her as cursed, transforming it into something beautiful. Kade stood waiting for her at the altar, his scarred face softened with love. Elder Mora officiated, her ancient voice carrying across the gathered crowd. We are here to witness the union of two souls who chose each other when the world said they shouldn't, who fought for each other when others said they couldn't, who built something real from what began as convenience. Luna took Kade's hands, feeling the claim bond pulse between them, no longer just a thread of connection, but a rope of steel forged through trials and tears and triumph. I choose you, she said, her voice clear and strong. Not because I have to, but because I want to. Every single day. I choose you, Kade replied. My partner, my equal, my home. They sealed their vows with a kiss, and the pack erupted in howls of celebration. Later, as the feast wound down and wolves began to drift away, Luna found herself standing at the edge of Packlands, looking out at the forest beyond. Myra joined her, holding 2 cups of wine. Thinking about the future? Myra asked. Thinking about how far I've come. Luna accepted the cup. 6 months ago, I was nobody. The cursed one sitting alone, watching life pass me by. And now I'm somebody's choice. Somebody's partner. Part of something bigger than myself. Luna smiled. Now I'm home. You know, Myra said thoughtfully, when Kade first brought you here, I thought you'd last a week. Maybe less. What changed your mind? The training yard. When you kept getting back up. Myra's expression was serious. That's when I knew you weren't just some weak outsider. You were Stormwatch material, stubborn, determined, too angry to quit. I'll take that as a compliment. It is. Myra raised her cup. To the cursed one who became alpha mate. To the wolf who proved us all wrong. Luna clinked her cup against Myra's. To new beginnings. And second chances. They drank, watching the moon rise over Stormwatch territory. Behind them, the pack house glowed with warmth and light and laughter. Inside, Kade was telling stories, Garrett was arguing pack law, Vera was actually smiling, and Arya, the newest refugee from Blood Moon, was being welcomed into the fold. This was what Luna had fought for. This sense of belonging, of purpose, of being valued not despite her differences but because of them. She'd been marked as cursed, told she brought misfortune. But standing here, married to an alpha who loved her, surrounded by a pack she'd earned her place in, planning a future where other cursed ones might find sanctuary, Luna realized something. Maybe the curse had been a gift all along. It had driven her away from Riverbend, led her to Kade, forced her to be strong when she wanted to break. taught her that worth wasn't given by others. It was claimed, fought for, proven through the simple act of refusing to stay down. "You coming?" Myra asked, heading back toward the celebration. "In a minute." Luna stood alone under the moon, touching the pendant at her throat, no longer too heavy, but perfectly right. A symbol of the bond she'd built, the life she'd claimed, the wolf she'd become. In Riverbend, they'd called her cursed. In Stormwatch, they called her alpha mate. But Luna knew the truth. She was simply herself. Finally, completely, unapologetically herself. And that was the greatest gift of all. She turned and walked back toward the pack house, toward the light and warmth and love waiting inside. Toward Kade, who looked up as she entered and smiled, that rare, genuine smile reserved only for her. Toward home. The journey had been brutal. The trials had nearly broken her. The fear had been overwhelming. But Luna had learned something essential. Curses could become crowns, if you were brave enough to wear them. Weakness could become strength, if you were stubborn enough to keep fighting. And being chosen, truly chosen, was worth every scar, every tear, every moment of doubt. She'd started this story alone. She was ending it surrounded by family. And somewhere out there, another cursed wolf was sitting alone, watching life pass by, wondering if they'd ever be chosen. Luna made a silent promise to that wolf, whoever they were: hold on. Keep fighting. Your alpha is coming. Your pack is waiting. Your story is just beginning. And it will be magnificent. The end.